The visually impaired young woman, Da Rim, openly confessed her feelings to a man by boldly inviting him to a hotel room. The man, completely unprepared, could only watch in embarrassment as she paid for the room, enduring the judgmental gaze of the hotel staff. Da Rim's grandparents ran a dry cleaning business, toiling tirelessly so their son could achieve success in the civil service exam. Year after year, from his newlywed days until his 3 children were in elementary school, he failed the exam repeatedly. Throughout these years, Da Rim's mother shouldered the responsibility of caring for her in-laws and raising her children. With a large family and limited income, they constantly struggled financially. She resented her husband, preoccupied with studying, who had become lazy and unproductive. In his adulthood, he wasn't a help but a burden. Overwhelmed with these thoughts, she ran to her mother-in-law's arms, weeping bitterly. As if one misfortune wasn't enough, Da Rim's father, both a burden and the emotional pillar of the family, suddenly fell gravely ill and passed away. At the funeral, the grandparents mourned their son. Da Rim's aunt, seeing her brother as a failure who had never earned a penny, argued with her parents. Da Rim's mother, heartbroken, sat clutching her 3 children, uncertain of their future. After the funeral, driven by the need to provide for her children, Da Rim's mother forced herself to be strong. Leaving her children at the doorway, she prepared lunch, hoping to inspire her family to persevere through action. Children from poor families bear responsibilities early on. The 3 siblings understood their mother's hardship. At a young age, they contemplated how to help her carry the burden. Time flew by, and the 3 siblings grew up. Despite the years of poverty, the family remained close, their lives simple and warm. Their only worry was Da Rim's rare retinal disease. Her vision had deteriorated to 0.02, and her field of vision was narrowing. Without timely treatment, she would go blind. As a child, Da Rim had excellent eyesight. She could spot a sesame seed on her teacher's tooth from afar and even discern the smallest symbols on the eye chart. Who could have imagined she would develop an eye disease later in life? The doctor told her about a new injection. 7 patients who had received it had fully recovered their vision. The sooner she received the treatment, the better. If her retina completely deteriorated, even the injection would be useless. The doctor advised her to bring her mother next time to discuss the treatment. Da Rim was overjoyed, but upon hearing the 800 million won cost, she abandoned the idea of treatment. On her way home, Da Rim relied on GPS navigation to identify traffic lights at the intersection. The flick of a lighter distracted her. As she passed the man making the noise, she muttered a curse under her breath. The man, startled by her words and lost in thought, was hit by an oncoming car and fell to the ground. He stared at Da Rim's retreating figure, finding her vaguely familiar. 8 years earlier, Kang Ju and Da Rim were classmates. Kang Ju was the only one who had always helped her at school. Knowing he was about to enlist in the military, Da Rim had mustered the courage to proposition him to a hotel. They went to the hotel. Kang Ju sheepishly admitted he hadn't brought any money. Da Rim paid with her card. Under the scrutiny of the receptionist, Kang Ju played with his lighter to ease his nervousness. After their intimate encounter, they exchanged numbers, promising to call after his enlistment. Da Rim leaned sweetly against him, cherishing the warmth of the moment. However, 8 years had passed, and Kang Ju never called. Fate, unexpectedly, had brought them together once more. Da Rim didn't tell her family about the treatment. She knew that if she did, her mother would sell everything to pay for it. She didn't want to be a burden again. Her grandparents shared her mindset. Her grandfather had just recovered from lung cancer, and her grandmother was suspected of having stomach cancer. To avoid worrying their daughter-in-law, she kept her condition a secret, living each day as it came. However, Da Rim's aunt offered no support to the family. Instead, she returned to her parents' home with her son. During dinner, Da Rim's cousin revealed that his parents were divorcing. No one wanted to face the reality of having to support the boy, casting a heavy pall over the family. After dinner, Da Rim's older brother, Mu Rim, cleared the table, complaining about Da Rim dropping food everywhere. Da Rim, afraid of becoming a burden due to her failing eyesight, didn't argue. She tried to minimize her presence, not wanting to cause any trouble. Despite this, she kindly advised her brother to be nice to their mother, who was always happy to see him. He retorted that he would be moving out soon. Overhearing Da Rim's phone call about borrowing 800 million won, her mother, recalling Da Rim's hesitant attempts to speak earlier, realized what was happening. Tears welled up in her eyes. In stark contrast to Da Rim's family's poverty, Kang Ju lived a privileged life. Years ago, his mother remarried, bringing him along. His stepfather, childless, treated him as his heir. However, to temper him, he started Kang Ju at a managerial position, expecting him to earn his inheritance through merit. To avoid employees' flattery, Kang Ju ensured even the company dog knew he wasn't the chairman's biological son. Recently returned from abroad and still unfamiliar with the work, Kang Ju's inexperience made him a target of resentment among some employees. However, he agreed with his stepfather's methods and they had a good relationship. He aspired to be like him. Kang Ju's mother received a call from a real estate agent about a building she wanted to buy. The seller was eager, demanding a 20% down payment. She rushed home and opened the safe. From the 10 billion won her late husband had left her, she took out a portion for the down payment. His will had instructed her to avoid inheritance tax by keeping the cash hidden and to only use it after 15 years, when the statute of limitations expired. He'd also warned her not to reveal its existence to anyone, including her husband. With the 15-year mark approaching, Kang Ju's mother felt lucky. She packed 2 large suitcases with cash for the purchase. At that moment, Da Rim's mother arrived to deliver dry cleaning. Unable to hail a cab, Kang Ju's mother asked Da Rim's mother for a ride, loading the suitcases into her car. On the way, another car cut them off. They both cursed simultaneously, surprised to find they shared a similar temperament. Mid-journey, Da Rim's mother received a call from the doctor. While she waited, Kang Ju's mother informed her lawyer about using the cash for the purchase. The lawyer disagreed. Just a few months shy of the 15-year mark, she would inherit the 10 billion won tax-free. He advised patience. Worried about unforeseen circumstances, Kang Ju's mother abandoned the purchase, returning the money to storage. Meanwhile, Da Rim's future sister-in-law invited her to lunch. Da Rim boldly asked her to give her the lunch money in cash instead. With the money, Da Rim excitedly bought lottery tickets, hoping for a stroke of luck. Winning would cover her expensive treatment and restore her sight. As she scratched the tickets, Kang Ju entered the convenience store to eat ramen, sitting beside her and recognizing her. Seeing Da Rim's disappointment at not winning, Kang Ju slipped away. Curiosity gnawed at him, wondering if she'd deleted his number. He picked up his phone and called her. Da Rim's phone rang immediately. To avoid entanglement, Kang Ju tried to flee. The store owner called out his name, reminding him about his forgotten card. Hearing the familiar name, Da Rim realized the man beside her was the one who had broken his promise 8 years ago. She blocked his path with her cane, preventing his escape. As Da Rim left the store, Kang Ju followed. He wanted to talk to her, but he couldn't remember her name. Just then, as they reached the intersection, the light turned red. Kang Ju hastily pulled Da Rim to the sidewalk. Once on the sidewalk, Da Rim forcefully pulled her hand away from Kang Ju's. Kang Ju felt a pang of guilt about what had happened years ago, but he feigned indifference, declaring that Da Rim had never called him either. There was no rule that men had to call women first. Seeing Da Rim's continued silence, he added insult to injury, claiming he hadn't had feelings for her back then, only pity. Infuriated by his presumption, Da Rim lashed out with her cane, striking Kang Ju repeatedly until it snapped into pieces. Seeing her frantically searching the ground, Kang Ju relented. Since he'd started this, he felt obligated to take her home. Kang Ju escorted Da Rim to the front of a dry cleaner. Ti-woong, who worked there part-time, assumed Kang Ju was bullying Da Rim and threatened to iron out the wrinkles on his face. Da Rim lied, claiming Ti-woong was her boyfriend and warning Kang Ju not to think she was an easy target. Embarrassed, Kang Ju left. However, later that afternoon, he returned to the dry cleaner with 10 canes as an apology. Da Rim, no longer bothered by him, sincerely said, "It was nice meeting you." She assured him she had never considered pursuing or falling in love with him. Da Rim's words left Kang Ju feeling ashamed. Compared to her sincerity, his actions from years ago seemed despicable. Da Rim's mother returned home from the doctor. She learned there was a new treatment that could restore Da Rim's sight, but the cost was a staggering 800 million won. The amount crushed her. Even a strong woman like her couldn't hold back the tears. She resented how their poverty was holding her daughter back. Da Rim's older sister, Cha Rim, felt much the same as her brother. She resented being born into a hopeless family. Cha Rim, a designer at Kang Ju's company, was determined to escape their impoverished life through her own efforts. That day, she accidentally stained a garment she designed. She called Ti Woong for help. As a reward, she impulsively kissed him. Ti Woong was angry, accusing her of leading him on while constantly rejecting him. Cha Rim's feelings were clear. She loathed everything about her family life, except for Ti Woong, who held her heart. Unfortunately, he was a poor orphan. She refused to be tied down to poverty. Elsewhere, the canes Kang Ju bought were the wrong size. Da Rim went to buy new ones with her young neighbor. However, Ti Woong had already bought her some. The neighbor, wanting to help, told Ti Woong that Da Rim had said, if her sight could be restored, the first person she wanted to see was him, Ti Woong. Blushing, Da Rim admitted it was true. Ti Woong understood her feelings but didn't pursue the topic further. Da Rim's mother scrambled to raise money for the treatment. She planned to break their current apartment lease and rent a smaller one, saving 200 million won. She still needed to find another 600 million. Just then, Mu Rim's future mother-in-law arrived. Mu Rim needed to borrow money for wedding preparations. His mother-in-law didn't want them to start their marriage in debt. Knowing Mu Rim's pride would prevent him from accepting her help directly, she entrusted the money to Da Rim's mother, asking her to give it to Mu Rim. After the woman left, Da Rim's mother opened the envelope to find 1 billion won. Overwhelmed, she immediately called Mu Rim to discuss using the money for Da Rim's surgery. He was busy, so they agreed to talk later. Afterwards, Da Rim's mother went to Cha Rim's workplace, demanding she break her lease and move back home, contributing the saved money to Da Rim's treatment. Cha Rim vehemently refused, but her mother was adamant. Thinking of the wealthiest person in their family, Da Rim's soon-to-be brother-in-law, Da Rim's mother swallowed her pride and went to his company to borrow money. Before going in, she called Da Rim's aunt to inquire about her younger sister's marriage, hoping it had improved. The aunt, having just received divorce papers from her husband, lied and said they had reconciled. Da Rim's mother believed her. She entered the company, nervously explaining her purpose. Before Da Rim's uncle could respond, a woman barged in, calling out, "Honey." Flustered, the uncle shooed the woman away, treating her like a beggar. He then lent Da Rim's mother a paltry 3 million won. Da Rim's mother, moved to tears, believed that every little bit helped and that she would eventually reach the 800 million. Back home, before she could even catch her breath, Da Rim's mother received a call from a tour guide. Her parents, who had gone hiking, had wandered off from the group and were now lost. Panic ensued, and the entire family rushed into the mountains to search. Meanwhile, Da Rim's lost father stumbled upon a heavyset, thuggish-looking man burying something under a tree. After he left, the elderly couple nervously approached to investigate. Bundles of cash lay before them. This money was Kang Ju's mother's secret stash. 2 thieves were targeting her. Taking advantage of the empty house, they'd cracked her safe and found 10 billion won inside. Kang Ju's mother never suspected one of the thieves was her husband's driver. She'd struggled against them, but was no match. They knocked her unconscious and tied her up. When she awoke, the thieves were gone. She smashed a vase, used a shard of glass to cut her bonds, and ran outside for help. Her housekeeper, who had arrived to cook, was about to call the police, but Kang Ju's mother stopped her, reporting it would expose the 10 billion won, forcing her to pay taxes on it. Her husband's meticulous planning would be ruined. Just then, Kang Ju and his stepfather returned. Knowing she couldn't hide it, Kang Ju's mother confessed the 10 billion won his father had left was gone. Kang Ju and his stepfather stared at the hidden compartment in the closet. It was the first time they knew such a stash existed. Kang Ju scolded his mother for her foolishness. Paying taxes honestly would have allowed them to spend the rest without worry. Now, not only would they face penalties, but his stepfather's business could also be implicated. All sorts of trouble could arise. A passerby, witnessing Kang Ju's mother's panicked escape, had already called the police. They arrived shortly. The 3 family members huddled, eventually deciding to lie and claim a robbery. They said jewelry and the cash in Kang Ju's mother's purse had been stolen. The investigating officer was Da Rim's older brother and his soon-to-be wife, Ma-yeon. Based on the scene, he suspected someone they knew. He found a lighter under the coffee table and lifted fingerprints. The police quickly tracked down and arrested the driver. Seeing his accomplice captured, the heavy-set man panicked and fled with the money. He planned to escape overseas, but with heightened security, the boat captain refused to risk it. Trapped, he decided to hide the 2 large bags of cash. This was the burial witnessed by Da Rim's parents. Their blood pressure soared, leaving them trembling and speechless. However, Da Rim's father noticed the man's neck tattoo. He was clearly dangerous. They couldn't risk their lives for this money, so they carefully reburied it. He kept reminding himself it wasn't theirs. Just then, Da Rim's mother arrived. The elderly couple finally returned home safely. Da Rim snuggled beside her grandmother, relieved they were safe and excited about the prospect of regaining her sight. At that moment, she overheard an argument outside. It turned out her mother had told Mu Rim's future mother-in-law had given her 1 billion won for wedding preparations. She planned to use the money for Da Rim's eye surgery. Mu Rim immediately flew into a rage. Since his father's death, he had shouldered the responsibility of providing for his family, even foregoing college. He was trying to escape the stigma of their financial situation and refused to accept help from his future mother-in-law. He wanted to be with his girlfriend on equal footing, but his mother's actions were trampling on his pride. Standing up awkwardly, Mu Rim demanded his mother return the money immediately, but she refused. His girlfriend's mother was a director. The sum was insignificant to her, but crucial for Da Rim. She would repay it later, she insisted. Ma-yeon reached out and snatched the check. Da Rim's mother pulled it away. In the struggle, the check ripped. Her mother felt fortunate it could be taped back together. Mu Rim, furious and speaking without thinking, retorted, "Don't you see we've managed fine without this check? If there's truly no other way, then we can live like this." Hearing the commotion, Cha Rim came to investigate. Learning of her mother's actions, she also scoffed. From childhood, her mother had only cared about Da Rim. Time and time again, she'd been absent from Cha Rim's school events, leaving her youth shrouded in confusion and pain. She'd finally escaped that dreadful house. She absolutely would not break her apartment lease to move back. Besides, only 7 doctors in the entire country performed that surgery. Their family had money. They didn't, so they had to give up. Had Da Rim even said she wanted the surgery? Had she asked their mother to contribute? Was their mother crazy? Had she lost her mind? Had she no shame? Sitting outside her grandmother's room, Da Rim clearly heard the argument between her brother, sister, and mother. She was heartbroken to be such a burden on her family. She went out alone, seeking solace in alcohol. When the owner pressed her for payment, she realized her wallet was empty. She called Ti-woong, but he didn't answer. He was at karaoke with Cha Rim, trying to unwind. Ti-woong understood how hard Da Rim's mother worked on her own. He thought Cha Rim should be more supportive. But when he heard Cha Rim had been hit, he felt heartbroken. Unable to reach Ti-woong, Da Rim scrolled through her recent calls and dialed Kang Ju. He arrived quickly. Because he was also in a bad mood, he ordered a bottle of alcohol. Actually, after his mother had been swindled out of 10 billion won, Kang Ju's stepfather felt hurt by his wife's lack of trust. A rift had formed between them. Kang Ju, adhering to his work ethic, took Da Rim home. On the way, they ran into Ti-woong and Cha Rim leaving the karaoke bar. Da Rim had told Kang Ju that Ti-woong was her boyfriend. Kang Ju mistakenly assumed Ti-woong was cheating. Reflexively, he shielded Da Rim, preventing her from seeing them. Da Rim, drunk and distraught, alternated between lamenting being a burden and collapsing into Kang Ju's arms, laughing and crying. Kang Ju, flustered, kindly advised her, "When you look for a boyfriend, find someone who is sincere." The next day, Da Rim's aunt stormed into their house to confront Da Rim's mother. She was arguing with her husband about their divorce settlement, demanding more money. She kept delaying, refusing to finalize the divorce. But her husband had pulled a dirty trick, giving the 30 million won he owed her to Da Rim's mother as a loan and claiming it as part of the settlement. The aunt told Da Rim's mother that no matter how desperate she was, she shouldn't mess with other people's lives, and demanded she return the money immediately. When Da-Rim's mother refused, her aunt grabbed the phone, entered the amount, and forced her to input her password. Left with no choice, Da-Rim's mother transferred the money back. Exhausted by the constant turmoil, Da-Rim's mother still managed to pull herself together for her delivery job. Arriving at Kang-Ju's house, she saw his stepfather emerging and, momentarily forgetting her troubles, stared intently at him. Only when he prompted her to move her vehicle did she snap back to reality. He drove away. Da-Rim looked at her reflection in the mirror. Perhaps now, he wouldn't recognize her anyway. Da-Rim didn't want her family to fall apart because of her eyes. She fumbled in her mother's bag, searching for the 1 billion won check from her brother's future mother-in-law. Her mother caught her in the act. Her mother refused to relinquish any hope. She wouldn't return the money. Da-Rim cried out, "You're not just my mother, you're also my brother and sister's mother." Her brother and sister were right. They couldn't possibly raise 800 million won. Even if they could, their small laundry business wouldn't be enough to repay the debt. She didn't want her whole family to live just to pay off a loan, but her mother still wanted to try. Da-Rim sobbed. The strain on her family's faces was suffocating. She didn't want to struggle anymore. Da-Rim returned the money to Mu-Rim, lying that she was used to living in darkness. Continuing like this was enough. Mu-Rim simply said, "I hope you don't blame yourself. I've done everything I can." Da-Rim then sought out Cha-Rim. She'd made it clear to their mother that she wouldn't have the surgery. Cha-Rim didn't need to give up her apartment to save money and move back home. Hoping to ease the tension, Da-Rim invited Cha-Rim to lunch. But Cha-Rim said her lunch break was almost over and she needed to return to work. Da-Rim asked, "Are you ashamed to have a blind sister?" Cha-Rim's anger, long suppressed, finally erupted. 30 years of sharing a room with you, and I've finally gained my independence. Can you just leave me alone? Being around you makes me feel like a criminal." Heartbroken by her inability to mend bridges with her siblings, Da-Rim sat dejectedly beneath the office building. Kang-Ju emerged and, seeing her, asked if she needed a taxi. Da-Rim had already called one herself. When it arrived, she stood up immediately, bidding Kang-Ju farewell. Watching her open the car door with practiced ease, Kang-Ju recalled driving her home the other night. He'd finally asked the question that had been on his mind. In the car, he'd asked, "Why did you invite me to that hotel on the main street all those years ago?" Da-Rim had replied, "I loved the screenplay you wrote in school. I was infatuated with the main character. Because I liked that man, I wanted to write you a love letter." Meanwhile, Da-Rim's grandparents attended a friend's funeral. To their astonishment, they saw a portrait of Fatty, the man who'd buried money in the mountains, displayed in the hall. They confirmed the adjacent room was indeed hosting his funeral. They hurried to find Mu-Rim, who was just leaving the room, and asked about his identity. Mu-Rim informed them, Fatty was a loan shark. Initial assessment shows no signs of foul play and no other relatives. The grandparents couldn't contain their excitement. 2 large bags of money were unclaimed. They were the only ones who knew the hiding place. If they had money, Da-Rim's mother wouldn't have to struggle so much. After a night of deliberation, they made the decision to retrieve the money from the mountain. The elderly couple laboriously climbed the mountain. Following their memories, they located the buried cash. To lessen their guilt, they planned to take only a portion. But after calculating their family's numerous needs, they reconsidered. They subtly questioned Mu-Rim, who was working as a police officer. If a thief takes money only to provide for their family, are they punished? Only selfish thieves are punished, right? They reasoned that at their age, they wouldn't live much longer. Even if they were caught, leaving their family with a sizable inheritance would be worth it. They decided to take the entire bag without hesitation. Not wanting their daughter-in-law to be implicated, they chose to hide the money in their air conditioner, a unit they never used. The air conditioner was covered. The grandfather dismantled the components. The grandmother stuffed the money inside, counting as she went. Exactly 3 billion won. They both finally breathed a sigh of relief as they finished concealing the cash. They would find opportunities to gradually withdraw the money for their family's expenses. Just then, Kang-Ju's mother lost some money and was in a foul mood. The previous day, she had angrily fired her housekeeper cook, but she realized she couldn't cook herself, so she ordered Kang Ju to rehire the housekeeper. The housekeeper's restaurant was next to Da Rim's dry cleaning shop. Kang Ju asked the housekeeper if Da Rim and Ti Woong were dating. The housekeeper flatly said it was impossible. Everyone knew Ti Woong and Cha Rim had a sort of ambiguous relationship, so there was no way he was involved with Da Rim. Kang Ju approached Da Rim. She had previously complimented his script, saying it was captivating, which had pleased him immensely. In everyone else's eyes, he was nothing special, but Da Rim was the only one who recognized his talent. Moreover, after seeing her again, he realized how strong and optimistic she was. He couldn't help but want to understand her better. He asked Da Rim to write a few words of encouragement for him, implying that he, too, needed support. Da Rim became angry, unable to understand how he couldn't see how good his life was. She understood she shouldn't blame him. Da Rim mocked herself, saying that when she could see, she hadn't watched many movies, and now that she wanted to, she couldn't. Kang Ju, wanting to fulfill Da Rim's wish, took her to see a movie. Ti Woong, worried that Kang Ju might bully Da Rim, tagged along. Kang Ju thoughtfully explained the movie to Da Rim. He was very descriptive, but whenever Da Rim felt scared, she leaned on Ti Woong. Jealous, Kang Ju tugged on Da Rim's shirt to pull her back. After the movie, the three of them went to eat. Ti Woong warned Da Rim not to go anywhere alone with Kang Ju, as he was a rich playboy with ulterior motives. Kang Ju was unhappy with Ti Woong's prejudice against him and asked him where he got off talking to him like that. Ti Woong revealed that he grew up in an orphanage and considered Da Rim like a younger sister. He added that if Da Rim ever got a boyfriend, he'd have to go through him first. Da Rim felt a bit disappointed hearing this, but stopped their childish argument. Da Rim's mother hadn't given up on finding a way to restore Da Rim's sight. She saw a news report on TV about Kang Ju's stepfather, Chairman Jai, donating 13 billion won to a school. She was stunned. It turned out that Chairman Jai was her first love. Back then, Chairman Jai was poor and about to drop out of school. Da Rim's mother sold stocks her father had bought for her, added her scholarship money, and gave it all to him. Chairman Jai was incredibly grateful and promised to repay her one day. Many years had passed, and Da Rim's mother assumed he wouldn't recognize her. But for Da Rim's sake, she mustered the courage to meet him. Unexpectedly, Chairman Jai not only recognized her, but was also incredibly cold. When she explained her reason for visiting, he condescendingly said that when she got married, he had already repaid her with the original sum plus interest based on the stock profits, down to the last penny. Da Rim's mother tried to argue, but Chairman Jai insulted her, saying her face was flushed and that she should see a dermatologist if she had a skin problem, or a psychiatrist if she had a mental one. Humiliated and heartbroken, Da Rim's mother returned to the dry cleaners and drank herself into a stupor, lamenting her bad luck and blaming her deceased husband for leaving her with such a burden. Her in-laws came down to comfort her, but in her drunken anger, she only grew more upset. Feeling hot from the alcohol, she went to turn on the air conditioner, which they usually left off to save money. Her in-laws rushed to stop her, but she was beyond reason. When the air conditioner didn't respond, she shook it violently, and then she saw something that stunned her. The air conditioner was filled with money. Da Rim's mother couldn't believe her eyes. Taking the air conditioner apart, she found stacks of cash. She was overwhelmed. Her in-laws, seeing that their secret was out, confessed how they had come by the money. They had hidden the money to prevent the truth from coming out and making their daughter-in-law an accomplice to theft. Da Rim's mother was both shocked and overjoyed. Although she knew she shouldn't take someone else's money, she couldn't worry about ethics when it came to Da Rim's sight. She explained to her in-laws that she would use 800 million won for Da Rim's surgery. She and Da Rim would work hard to repay them and then bury the remaining money to return it eventually. Her in-laws only then learned that there was a way to restore Da Rim's vision. All their guilt instantly vanished. They would go to hell and back if it meant Da Rim could see again. Da Rim's mother had found a light in the darkness. She clasped her in-laws' hands, tears of joy streaming down her face. The next day, Da Rim's mother took her to the hospital for a checkup. All the indicators were good, and the surgery was scheduled for 3 days later. Da Rim asked her mother where the money came from. Her mother lied, saying she borrowed it from her friend, Chairman Jai. Once Da Rim could see again, they would both work hard to repay him. She would soon be able to see. Mother and daughter were deeply moved and eagerly awaited the surgery. However, trouble was brewing unnoticed. Kang Ju was searching everywhere for his lighter. It was a keepsake from his deceased father and very precious to him. He'd searched his entire house and, unable to find it, went to Da Rim's dry cleaners, as his mother had taken his laundry there. With the help of Da Rim's grandparents, he quickly found the lighter. He tried to light it several times, but it wouldn't catch. After a few more attempts, a flame suddenly erupted. Startled, Kang Ju dropped the lighter. Unfortunately, it landed in a puddle of dry cleaning solvent that Da Rim's grandmother had spilled on the floor. The flame ignited the solvent, instantly causing a large fire. Da Rim's grandparents frantically tried to save the money hidden in the air conditioner, but the fire was too intense. Kang Ju, unaware of the money, quickly pulled them outside. He then collapsed, having inhaled a large amount of smoke. By the time Da Rim's mother returned, the dry cleaners had burned to the ground. The 3 billion won in the air conditioner had turned to ash. Kang Ju woke up and apologized to Da Rim's family, promising to compensate them fully for the loss of the dry cleaners. Da Rim's mother, unable to express her true anguish, could only glare at him angrily. Kang Ju's mother and Chairman Jai arrived to check on him. Seeing that his son wasn't seriously injured, Chairman Jai coldly told Kang Ju to handle the compensation himself. It turned out that just before going to the hospital, Chairman Jai had received an unexpected email from an ex-girlfriend. She revealed that years ago, she had hidden the fact that she had given birth to their son and had given him up to an orphanage. She was now terminally ill with cancer and felt compelled to tell him. Suddenly learning he had a son, Chairman Jai was reeling from the shock. After Da Rim's grandparents were released from the hospital, Da Rim's mother demanded to know where they had dug up the money. She was determined that Da Rim would have her surgery. The three of them went up the mountain and quickly dug up the remaining bag of money. Da Rim successfully underwent surgery. Da Rim's mother waited anxiously outside, hoping the operation was a success and that Da Rim would see the light again. Da Rim's surgery was a complete success, but it would take a few days of recovery before the bandages could be removed. Ti Woong offered to stay and care for Da Rim, suggesting the elders go home and rest. The three returned home and hid the remaining money under the mattress. Since Da Rim's sight was restored, the grandparents believed it was only fair to help their other two grandchildren. Mu Rim was constantly upset about the wedding expenses. They decided to buy Mu Rim a house. But the problem was how to spend the money without raising suspicion. The grandmother suggested altering the dry cleaners' accounting books, making it appear as though their business was booming and they had earned a lot of money. The grandfather immediately envisioned them all going to jail for accounting fraud. Finally, the grandfather decided to put on a show at Mu Rim's wedding. The three of them took 100 million won from under the mattress and packed the cash into wedding envelopes. They would pretend this money was wedding gifts. The grandmother racked her brain, writing the names of distant acquaintances on the envelopes to create the impression of a large, well-attended wedding with many gifts. The three enthusiastically invited even casual acquaintances to the wedding, announcing that their presence was the only gift required. Elsewhere, Kang Ju visited Da Rim in the hospital. He was anxious, fearing her reproach for burning down the laundromat. He couldn't bring himself to speak, but he took her hand. Da Rim, mistaking him for Ti Woong, happily held his hand back. She wanted to be praised for bravely enduring the painful eye injections and longed for Ti Woong's commendation. Kang Ju affectionately stroked her head, then, unable to resist, kissed her and ran out of the hospital. He yelled, "Da Rim is the bravest." He was overjoyed for her. Da Rim, still believing Ti Woong was cheering her on, lay in bed, smiling shyly. The day to remove her bandages arrived, and her family anxiously awaited the moment they would witness the miracle. "Mom, it's been so long." Da Rim looked at everyone with delight, tears streaming down her face. Her family laughed and cried along with her, cherishing this hard-won moment. Cha Rim went to the balcony to find Ti Woong. Da Rim could see. The whole family was relieved. Cha Rim was overjoyed, no longer needing to worry about her sister. Overcome with emotion, she almost kissed Ti Woong, but stopped herself just in time. She had a principle of being with someone worthy, and Ti Woong didn't meet her standards. Cha Rim noticed Da Rim's fondness for Ti Woong and asked him about his feelings. Ti Woong said he only saw Da Rim as a younger sister. Da Rim's feelings might be a misconception. Besides, apart from his family, there was only one other man who constantly stayed by Da Rim's side. Cha Rim didn't offer her opinion. Da Rim walked home alone. Now that she could see, she was curious about everything, constantly looking around. Kang Ju spotted her across the street and deliberately stood in the middle of the road, blocking her path. "Who are you? How can I run into such a crazy person?" Da Rim went upstairs to find Ti Woong. She found him shirtless after exercising, eyes closed in rest. Unable to resist, she kissed him on the forehead. Ti Woong jumped up in alarm, reminding her that such actions were inappropriate with men. Da Rim, still thinking it was Ti Woong who had kissed her at the hospital, teased, "Ti Woong, you dare to do it but don't dare to admit it." Da Rim's family saw the lipstick mark on Ti Woong's forehead and asked if he had a girlfriend. If so, they insisted he bring her home, promising to arrange a wedding. Ti Woong, grateful for the family's years of care, didn't want to cause them more trouble. "Don't worry, you guys have money." "Ti Woong, you'll be shocked." Hearing the adults urging marriage, Da Rim felt a surge of happiness, confident she was the bride-to-be. Kang Ju compensated the laundromat with 300 million won for the damages. Thanks to the family's efforts, the laundromat was finally renovated and reopened. Kang Ju came to congratulate them. In everyone's eyes, he was just a troublemaker, especially after learning that Da Rim's grandparents and mother had lost 3 billion won for no apparent reason. Her grandfather, furious, chased him away. Da Rim finally saw Kang Ju's face clearly. She pulled him aside, telling him to stay away from the laundromat. Due to aftereffects of the surgery, Da Rim couldn't control her blinking. Kang Ju misinterpreted her blinking as smiling. He had long harbored feelings for her and was thrilled. He told her to admit he was her first love. Before leaving, he affectionately pinched her cheek. Striving for independence, Da Rim started applying for jobs. But with no work experience, no company wanted to hire her. Finally, she found a job delivering drinks in a building. Kang Ju happened to see her. He immediately asked a staff member to adjust the security cameras. Seeing Da Rim struggling to pull a cart of drinks up the stairs, he felt heartbroken. The staff member explained that delivery personnel weren't allowed to use the elevators during that time. Kang Ju was still unaware that Chairman Jai had discovered Ti Woong was his biological son. Knowing Ti Woong lived with Da Rim's family, he made a special visit to the laundromat. Previously, Da Rim's mother had asked him for a favor, a fabricated loan. If Da Rim asked, he was to say the 800 million won was borrowed from him. He had written a fake IU as requested and sent it over. Just then, Ti Woong returned from delivering clothes. Chairman Jai's eyes followed him intently. When no one was looking, he took the straw Ti Woong had used, intending to get a paternity test. The results quickly came back, confirming Ti Woong as his son. Chairman Jai confronted Ti Woong with the results. "Even if you are my son, nothing will change." Chairman Jai's sudden appearance and cold words rattled Ti Woong. He hadn't expected his biological father to be so heartless, completely unwilling to acknowledge him. Chairman Jai's coldness stemmed from his past. Back then, he was a poor student. One day, a girl caught his eye. With all the other boys watching, she approached him. The poor student was captivated by this goddess. He quickly fell in love. However, he later learned she wasn't a university student, but a hostess at a karaoke bar. Feeling deceived, he ignored her pleas and broke up with her. Since then, he found it difficult to trust anyone. He had initially agreed to a blind date with Kang Ju's mother because her father could help his career. After marriage, he hadn't planned on having children. Conveniently, she already had a son. They married, and he raised Kang Ju as his own. He never imagined that years later, a biological son would suddenly appear. Upset by Chairman Jai's cold demeanor, Ti Woong went to his company. He saw Cha Rim and Kang Ju in the elevator. Kang Ju looked at them suspiciously. They were clearly dating, so why weren't they talking? Surrounded by colleagues, Cha Rim maintained her single image. Worried their secret relationship would be exposed, she lied, claiming she didn't know Ti Woong. Already upset, Ti Woong was hurt by her words. But to play along, he also pretended not to know her. Kang Ju followed Ti Woong to his office. Ti Woong threw his house deed in front of Chairman Jai. "I have a house. I can support myself. I don't need a father like you. If you don't want to acknowledge me, I'll pretend you don't exist." Kang Ju finally realized his stepfather had a biological son, and it was Ti Woong. Ti Woong stormed out. Chairman Jai told Kang Ju, "Ti Woong is indeed my son, but I have no intention of letting him inherit anything." Kang Ju didn't care about that, only pleading with him not to tell his mother. Wanting to ease Da Rim's struggles, Kang Ju informed security, "No matter the time, whenever Da Rim comes to deliver drinks, let her use the elevator." This wasn't enough. He wanted Da Rim to work at the company as his stepfather's secretary. The chief secretary learned Da Rim had no work experience or driver's license. Finally, he asked, "Is Da Rim pretty?" Kang Ju truthfully replied, "Da Rim is very beautiful." Unexpectedly, the chief secretary immediately refused. Chairman Jai had previously demanded they not hire any beautiful women. Kang Ju hadn't anticipated this reverse psychology. He also didn't foresee Da Rim securing the job on her own merit. It turned out Da Rim's mother had misled her, making her believe Chairman Jai was a kind man who had lent them 800 million won. To express her gratitude, she brought him a glass of juice every day. Initially, Chairman Jai was cold and impatient, but Da Rim always responded with a smile. Gradually, he was charmed by her resilience and optimism. He began looking forward to seeing what juice she had prepared for him. He admired her strength and positive attitude. He offered her a job at the company. He had the chief secretary train Da Rim in basic secretarial duties. He reasoned he wasn't breaking his own rule because Da Rim was not beautiful. Da Rim informed her older sister, Cha Rim, about her upcoming job at the company. She worried that working at the same company might cause trouble for her sister. Unexpectedly, Cha Rim was delighted and reminded Da Rim to thank Chairman Jai for the opportunity. As they parted, Cha Rim apologized to Da Rim for not being able to help financially when Da Rim needed money for surgery. Her words brought back a flood of memories for Da Rim. Cha Rim had always walked her to school. On slippery, snowy days, she would carry Da Rim on her back and defend her against classmates who mocked her. Back home, their older brother would help clean Da Rim's dirty shoes. Even though she couldn't see, she still needed to be clean. Cha Rim even altered her own school uniform skirt so Da Rim could wear a skirt to school like everyone else. These warm memories always stayed with Da Rim. She never forgot the care her siblings had shown her. Kang Ju's secretary informed him that Chairman Jai had personally chosen his own secretary, the girl who had brought the drinks. He sarcastically remarked that father and son didn't share the same taste in beauty, a comment that stung Kang Ju. That day, Ti Woong visited his stepfather. His stepfather scolded him, saying his fiery temper was identical to his own in his youth. Like father, like son, indeed. This son he wasn't biologically related to was the complete opposite of Chairman Jai. Feeling a pang of sadness, Kang Ju went out to drink alone. Meanwhile, Da Rim shared the good news of her new job with Ti Woong. Ti Woong, wanting to protect her from the cold Chairman Jai, urged her to find a different job. Da Rim had struggled to find this position, and in her heart, Chairman Jai was the kindest person in the world. She couldn't just give it up because of Ti Woong's words. Ti Woong felt uneasy. Just then, Kang Ju's car sped towards him. Neither man yielded in a display of competitive driving. Fueled by alcohol, Kang Ju provoked Ti Woong. Annoyed by the entire family, Ti Woong got out of his car to confront Kang Ju. Seeing them fight, Da Rim immediately yelled for them to stop. But in their anger, neither man listened. Finally, the fight ended when Kang Ju was knocked to the ground. Da Rim rushed to check on him. Enraged by her concern for Kang Ju, Ti Woong stormed off, leaving Da Rim alone. Kang Ju was pleased to be alone with Da Rim. Drunk, he confessed his feelings. He revealed that he was the one who had kissed her forehead at the hospital and shouted encouragement to her. Da Rim finally realized it was Kang Ju. Pushing aside her own feelings, she reminded him that they would soon be colleagues and she wouldn't engage in workplace romances. Elsewhere, Kang Ju's mother sought out one of her father's former subordinates to investigate the missing money from the new currency release. Her father had painstakingly collected and saved a new 50,000 won bill starting with "Ah" for her. This bill was no longer in circulation. They just needed to follow this lead. That same day, Kang Ju asked his mother for spending money. She casually handed him the money their housekeeper had returned. Coincidentally, she noticed it started with A and had consecutive serial numbers. She exclaimed, "Isn't this the money I lost?" Mother and son immediately called the housekeeper. Learning she was at a wedding, they rushed to the venue. Arriving, Kang Ju realized the wedding was for Da Rim's brother. Kang Ju's mother found the housekeeper among the guests. She confronted her, demanding to know where the money came from. Da Rim's mother had given the money to the housekeeper as a thank you for her consistent help. Just then, Da Rim's mother arrived. The housekeeper glanced at her. Kang Ju's mother anxiously awaited an answer. The housekeeper, feeling awkward, especially with her son-in-law present whose principle was to never accept help to avoid exposure, lied and said the money came from customers at the restaurant. With so many customers, she couldn't recall who. Kang Ju's mother became frantic, demanding she think harder. Worried about the scene his mother was making, Kang Ju quickly ushered her outside. At the wedding, Da Rim's parents, as planned, brought the pre-stuffed envelopes of money to the venue. They then found an excuse to send Ti-Woong and Da Rim on an errand. One parent signed the guest book while the other slipped the envelopes into the gift box. By the time Da Rim and Ti-Woong returned, their task was complete. Da Rim's mother counted the gifts, totaling 50 million won. Combined with the secretly added 100 million won, this was enough for Mu Rim and his wife to find a Giant's lump sum deposit rental apartment. With Mu Rim successfully married, Da Rim's mother felt a weight lift from her shoulders. That evening, she joined Ti-Woong for drinks. She marveled at the generous wedding gifts, including numerous 100,000 yen checks, unaware that Ti-Woong had provided them. He had specifically exchanged cash for these checks, totaling 30 million won, before the wedding. Unbeknownst to the family, Mu Rim, wanting to ease his mother's burden, secretly took 150 million won and returned it to Chairman Jai. Worried that further refusal would reveal the truth, Chairman Jai accepted the money, planning to return it to Da Rim's mother later. Kang Ju's mother had just learned about her husband's relationship with Da Rim's mother. Unable to sleep that night, she got up to check if Mu Rim had returned the money. She searched everywhere but couldn't find the bag. Just then, Kang Ju returned, startling her. At that moment, she spotted the money bag under the sofa. As she reached for it, Kang Ju snatched it away. He questioned her secretive behavior. She explained the money's origin and wanted to verify if the bills started with A. Kang Ju knew his mother had enlisted Director Kim, his grandfather's former secretary, to track the money. He vehemently objected. If his stepfather discovered his mother's dealings with a loan shark, there would be trouble. To preserve family harmony, Kang Ju urged his mother to cease contact with Director Kim, taking on the task of finding the money himself. Seeing Kang Ju's confidence, his mother agreed. After sending her out, Kang Ju opened the bag, revealing 150 million won, including 100 million in A bills. Looking at the missing money, he couldn't easily confirm it was the same money his mother had lost. He met with Director Kim, instructing him to cease contact with his mother and to report any progress directly to him. He promised Director Kim a 2 billion won share once the missing 10 billion was recovered. The next day, Chairman Jai visited Da Rim's family's dry cleaners to return the money. Da Rim's mother was furious at his gesture, losing her appetite for the jjajangmyeon black bean noodles she had ordered. Chairman Jai was about to leave when he suddenly developed a craving for jjajangmyeon. They ate together. Chairman Jai reminisced, feeling transported back to their school days when they often shared meals. They shared a moment of closeness, almost breaking through the final barrier between them. Suddenly, Chairman Jai's ex-girlfriend appeared, catching him off guard with her forwardness. Tragically, she had betrayed his affections and stolen the wedding money he had intended for Da Rim's mother. Before leaving, Chairman Jai reassured Da Rim's mother that Da Rim was performing well at the company and not to worry about her adapting. Cha Rim had a clash with Kang Ju at work, criticizing him harshly and claiming he would never earn Chairman Jai's approval. This struck a nerve, leaving Kang Ju disheartened. Da Rim comforted him, explaining that her sister had a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Both she and Kang Ju needed to work hard to earn recognition. Kang Ju smiled. Encouraged by Da-rim, he confessed his unrequited feelings for her. Da-rim acknowledged his right to like whomever he chose, but stated that she couldn't reciprocate his feelings at this time, nor could she force him to stop liking her. Meanwhile, spurred by Kang-ju, Cha-rim decided to go on a blind date to find someone wealthy like him. Ti-woong followed her to the cafe and stood outside, texting her. He made it clear he didn't like her going on blind dates. Cha-rim saw Ti-woong but didn't go out to meet him. She simply texted back that she couldn't accept his poverty and that their relationship was over. Ti-woong was heartbroken and in despair. As he returned to his car, he received a call from an unknown number. The caller identified themselves as a hospice worker for his mother, who wanted to see him before she passed away. After a long moment of contemplation, Ti-woong decided to go see the mother he'd never met. While he was out, Da-rim's mother took the opportunity to clean his room. She stumbled upon the paternity test results for Ti-woong and Chairman Jai. Furious, she stormed off to Chairman Jai's company. Coincidentally, Kang-ju's mother was also there. Earlier, Kang-ju's mother had seen a text message on Chairman Jai's phone where someone called him Oppa, making her suspicious. She secretly checked his dashcam footage and saw him calling a lawyer after receiving the paternity test results. Her husband had hidden the existence of a son from her. Unable to contain her anger, Kang-ju's mother barged into the company and slapped Chairman Jai. Da-rim was at the doorway, observing the commotion. A second later, she saw her own mother storm in, equally furious. Kang-ju's mother mistakenly assumed Ti-woong was the son of Chairman Jai and Da-rim's mother. To everyone's surprise, Da-rim's mother also slapped Chairman Jai. Da-rim's mother had long considered Ti-woong her own son. She angrily confronted Chairman Jai. "Is Ti-woong the child you and your ex-girlfriend abandoned at the orphanage right after he was born?" Chairman Jai, reeling from the double slap, was in shock. Kang-ju, wanting to resolve the situation, asked the three of them to sit down and talk. Years ago, Da-rim's mother had found Ti-woong huddled in a discarded box. Knowing he was orphaned and raised in an orphanage, she took pity on him and brought him home, later giving him a job at her laundromat. Over time, she came to love him as her own. Da-rim's mother had no idea Ti-woong was the child Chairman Jai abandoned. Chairman Jai explained that he had only recently learned about Ti-woong's existence and had been completely unaware of having a son. Kang-ju's mother pieced together the story through their conversation. Not only had Chairman Jai been deceived by his ex-girlfriend, but now a son had suddenly appeared. Furious at being lied to, she declared that Kang-ju was Chairman Jai's only son. Unhappy with the unfair treatment of Ti-woong, Da-rim's mother fiercely argued for his rights. Kang-ju told her not to be fooled by Ti-woong, explaining that he was a skilled investor and businessman, actually quite wealthy with assets worth hundreds of billions. Confused, Da-rim's mother went home, increasingly troubled by the situation. Finally, she went to the real estate agency to inquire about the laundromat's owner and see the lease agreement. The agent immediately contacted Ti-woong, who was on a plane with his phone turned off. With no other option, the agent showed Da-rim's mother the lease. To her astonishment, she discovered that Ti-woong owned not just the laundromat, but the entire building. The neighbor's housekeeper also saw the lease. No one could believe that the poor boy who worked at the laundromat was actually a hidden tycoon. News spread like wildfire. One person knew, then 10, and soon the whole neighborhood knew that Ti-woong was incredibly wealthy. Cha-rim, still fixated on marrying rich, continued seeing her blind date prospect. That evening, when she returned home, everyone looked at her strangely. The neighbors knew about her ambiguous relationship with Ti-woong and were now jealous of her perceived upgrade to a life of luxury. Cha-rim was utterly bewildered. When her family told her that Ti-woong owned the entire building and was Chairman Jai's biological son, she was stunned. She berated herself for not recognizing a diamond in the rough. The man she had rejected held such a high status. She called Ti-woong, but his phone was still off. Unaware that he was visiting his birth mother, she mistakenly believed he was deliberately sabotaging her attempts at matchmaking. Frustrated, she ultimately told him to stay away. Ti-woong finally met his birth mother. She confessed her past. She had been a hostess pretending to be a university student when she dated Chairman Jai. She truly loved him, but he couldn't forgive her deception. In his anger, she decided to leave. After the breakup, she secretly gave birth to Ti Woong without telling Chairman Jai. Unable to raise him, she placed him in an orphanage. 3 years prior, she secretly visited both Chairman Jai and Ti Woong, discovering their shared loneliness. This sparked her plan to reunite Ti Woong with his father. Her method involved sending an anonymous email to Chairman Jai's company website, accusing Kang Ju of misusing company funds while studying abroad. Instead of solely focusing on his MBA, Kang Ju had also studied filmmaking. Unsuspecting, Kang Ju was summoned to his father's office. Chairman Jai threw the investigative documents on the floor, demanding to know if he'd studied film. Kang Ju explained he hadn't neglected his MBA, earning 2 degrees simultaneously, and that he'd paid for his film studies with his own savings. But Chairman Jai refused to listen, insisting that studying film was frivolous. In his anger, he demoted Kang Ju and placed him on probation. Ti Woong's mother planned to add fuel to the fire. She gave Ti Woong proof of Kang Ju's film school enrollment. With this evidence, Kang Ju would surely be fired, paving the way for Ti Woong to inherit the company. Mother and son had finally reunited, but her focus remained solely on Chairman Jai's company. She offered Ti Woong no warmth or affection. Disappointed and unwilling to be further involved, Ti Woong hoped they would stay out of each other's lives. But his mother insisted he take the evidence, claiming that money was the only thing to trust in the world, calling it his safety net. Ti Woong returned to the laundromat. Da Rim's mother pulled him aside, questioning how he'd bought the building and where he'd been. Ti Woong explained everything. After leaving the orphanage, he received a sum of money and made his fortune through stocks and investments. He had purchased the building 3 years ago, keeping it a secret for fear that his newfound wealth would alienate his current family, especially Da Rim's mother's love. He had met his birth mother, but he only had one true mother, the one who took him in and cared for him, Da Rim's mother. Da Rim's mother looked at Ti Woong, tears welling in her eyes. Her heart ached for him. Whether he had money or not, he would always be her son. Cha Rim's attitude towards Ti Woong did a complete 180. She dressed up and hovered around him. When he didn't pay attention to her, she called and invited him on a date. However, Ti Woong was now indifferent to her, no longer at her beck and call like before. When Cha Rim learned Ti Woong was home, she ran back at a full sprint and threw her arms around him. She declared, "No matter who you are, your place in my heart will never change." Unlike Ti Woong, Kang Ju was still suspended from his job. Every day, he sat idly at the reception desk, subjected to the pointing fingers of passing employees. Da Rim, wanting to comfort him, brought him some sushi her mother had made. Kang Ju mistakenly believed Da Rim had made it herself. Having had no appetite for days, he finally felt a pang of hunger. The two sat on the stairs, taking turns feeding each other. They chatted and laughed as they ate, the atmosphere relaxed and cheerful. After the meal, in an effort to find something to do, Kang Ju took the initiative to help the cleaning lady, the repairman, and the delivery staff with their work during his suspension. Meanwhile, Chairman Jai was investigating the IP address of the anonymous accusatory email sent from New York. He also learned from Da Rim that Ti Woong had traveled to the US a few days prior to visit his birth mother. Immediately suspecting Ti Woong, he called him and gave him a thorough scolding. Enraged, Ti Woong stormed into the company and readily admitted to being the one behind the trouble. He wanted to drive Kang Ju out of the company to disrupt their father-son relationship. Upon seeing Ti Woong, Kang Ju told him to stay away from the company if he had no business there. Ti Woong defiantly provoked him, confirming he was the one who filed the complaint that led to Kang Ju's dismissal. From now on, he declared, they would rely on their own abilities to get what they wanted. Caught between the two, Da Rim tried to reason with both of them but felt powerless. Cha Rim, observing from the sidelines, was inwardly pleased. She admired Ti Woong's ambition. Da Rim didn't believe Ti Woong wrote the accusatory email. She mentioned this while eating with her sister. Cha Rim was indifferent, caring only about fueling Ti Woong's ambition to compete for control of the company. Da Rim confessed to her sister that she liked Ti Woong. Cha Rim wasn't surprised at all. It was obvious to anyone who cared to look, but everyone assumed her feelings for Ti Woong were simply sibling affection. Besides, Ti Woong had liked someone else for a long time. Da Rim was stunned and asked who Ti Woong liked. Cha Rim smiled smugly, telling Da Rim to ask Ti Woong herself. Ever since Cha Rim learned of Ti Woong's true parentage, she had been clinging to him, trying to win his favor. Ti Woong was still bothered by her previous insistence on going on a blind date, so his attitude towards her was extremely cold. Cha Rim didn't mind. She was convinced that Ti Woong would eventually be hers. Unlike her sister, Da Rim cared deeply for Ti Woong. To clear his name, she investigated the timestamp of the anonymous email and Ti Woong's flight ticket. She discovered that Ti Woong was on the plane when the email was sent. She hoped he would explain this clearly to Chairman Jai. Ti Woong said it was irrelevant. Chairman Jai didn't want to acknowledge him anyway, so there was no need to put himself in a more difficult position. Seeing Ti Woong's reluctance, Da Rim presented the evidence of the email timestamp and Ti Woong's flight to Chairman Jai during work hours. She took the initiative to explain the situation on his behalf. Meanwhile, Director Kim, using the prefixed gift money received by Da Rim's family as a lead, targeted them for investigation. He pretended to visit the laundromat and, while Da Rim's aunt was distracted, stole the memory card from the surveillance camera. Later, Director Kim called Kang Ju, claiming to have a major discovery and asking him to meet at the loan shark's office after work. Kang Ju hung up, unaware that Chairman Jai was also in the restroom and had overheard the conversation. Chairman Jai had assumed Kang Ju and his mother had given up on tracing the source of the money. He was surprised and angered to learn that Kang Ju was secretly investigating on his own. He despised deception and felt disappointed in Kang Ju. The relationship between father and son deteriorated further. After work, Kang Ju went to find Director Kim, unaware that Chairman Jai was secretly following him. Kang Ju arrived at the loan shark's office, where Director Kim told him that the laundromat's cameras had been replaced after the fire and that he had discovered something within the footage. Just as Kang Ju was about to check the footage, Chairman Jai suddenly appeared, convinced that Kang Ju was having these people track the money. Furious, Chairman Jai turned and stormed out. Stunned, Kang Ju ran after him to explain, but the enraged Chairman Jai wouldn't give him a chance, driving off in a hurry. Kang Ju rushed home to find Chairman Jai packing his bags, preparing to leave. He declared he didn't want to live with this pair of liars anymore. Kang Ju's mother, in a panic, devised a plan to sever ties between them. She lied, claiming she was unaware of Kang Ju's pursuit of the money in order to keep Chairman Jai from leaving. Then, she pretended to be angry and kicked Kang Ju out of the house. After comforting Chairman Jai, Kang Ju's mother followed her son outside to apologize. She told Kang Ju to stay at a hotel for a few days and wait for Chairman Jai's anger to subside before returning. Kicked out with nowhere to go, Kang Ju spent the night at Director Kim's loan shark office, just as Director Kim was playing the laundromat surveillance video. They found no clues about the money, but they did see Chairman Jai taking off his shirt at the laundromat. Suspecting a shady relationship between Chairman Jai and Da Rim's mother, Kang Ju explained that they were college classmates and that Chairman Jai was probably just doing his laundry. However, a paper bag on the counter caught Kang Ju's attention. He recognized it as the money Mu Rim had returned to Chairman Jai. Kang Ju wondered why Chairman Jai had given the money back to Da Rim's mother. With unanswered questions and having nothing to do at the company, Kang Ju decided to resign. Before leaving, he reminded Da Rim to take good care of the chairman. Everything, he said, should prioritize the chairman's well-being. Afterward, Kang Ju returned to the design room and invited everyone out for a meal. A group of them went to his housekeeper's barbecue restaurant. There, Kang Ju announced his resignation. Cha Rim, though aware of the impropriety of the situation, couldn't suppress a smile. Kang Ju leaving the company paved the way for Ti Woong to join and potentially become the heir. Da Rim arrived home from work to find Kang Ju slumped in a corner, completely drunk. She tried to help him get home. Kang Ju tearfully lamented the loss of everything. Unable to move him on her own, Da Rim called the housekeeper for assistance. The next day, Kang Ju woke up at the barbecue restaurant. While eating breakfast, he saw Chairman Jai outside. He assumed the chairman was there to see him, but instead, the chairman entered the laundromat next door, looking for Ti Woong. At that moment, Kang Ju's mother arrived, looking for her son. Seeing Chairman Jai and Ti Woong together, she flew into a rage and was about to confront them, but Kang Ju held her back. His mother learned of his dismissal and the 500 million won debt he had accrued from his overseas education. Feeling immense pity for her son, she proposed a divorce from Chairman Jai. She had often spoken of divorce before, but never truly meant it. This time, however, her husband's actions left her numb. Kang Ju had always respected Chairman Jai, even claiming that his mother's best decision was marrying him. To avoid disappointing the chairman, Kang Ju had even abandoned his preferred field of study. He had always been meticulous in his work, fearful of displeasing Chairman Jai with subpar performance. But the chairman's actions didn't warrant Kang Ju's respect. Unaware of his wrongdoing, Chairman Jai became angry and immediately left the house. Unable to contain himself, Kang Ju sought out Ti Woong for a confrontation. He demanded to know why Chairman Jai was there. Noticing a plane ticket on the table, he realized the mysterious person who sent the anonymous email accusing him was on a plane. Therefore, the accuser wasn't Ti Woong. Kang Ju surmised that Chairman Jai had investigated the matter himself and then apologized to Ti Woong. This realization stung even more. It was a warmth he had never experienced. Meanwhile, Da Rim's mother noticed two lipstick hearts drawn on Ti Woong's bathroom mirror. Knowing they belonged to her daughters, she called them both in for questioning. She asked if they were trying to latch onto Ti Woong now that they knew he was wealthy. Da Rim then discovered her sister had drawn one of the hearts. This was the first time she realized Cha Rim also liked Ti Woong. Cha Rim smugly informed her mother and Da Rim that she and Ti Woong had a thing going on. There had been a few minor disagreements recently, but they would soon reconcile and officially start dating. Da Rim was shocked. She had never considered her sister a romantic rival. Cha Rim had never seen her as competition, always assuming Da Rim's feelings for Ti Woong were purely platonic. Their mother shared this assumption. Furious, Da Rim ran to find Ti Woong and asked if he liked Cha Rim. Ti Woong admitted it, but said it was over between them. Even if they had broken up, he wouldn't be interested in Da Rim. At that moment, Da Rim's heart completely shattered. She ran out crying and bumped into Kang Ju. Recently, Kang Ju had encountered Chairman Jai drinking at a restaurant. He mustered the courage to confront him, accusing him of clearing Ti Woong's name himself. He claimed Ti Woong was more important to the chairman than he was. Chairman Jai explained that Da Rim was certain of Ti Woong's innocence. Comparing the plane ticket and the timing of the online post, she had presented the evidence to him. Kang Ju realized he had blamed the wrong person. He ran to find Da Rim to talk, and found her crying. He led her to his car and asked what was wrong. When Da Rim didn't answer, he waited outside the car until she was finished crying. He then returned and pressed her for the reason behind her tears. Da Rim confessed everything. Ti Woong didn't like her. He only saw her as a sister. Are you like this because of heartbreak? Are you laughing? Wait a minute. Kang Ju realized there was something he needed to do. Taking advantage of Ti Woong's absence, he snuck into the laundromat through the back door to reinsert the memory card from the surveillance camera. However, before he could retreat, Da Rim's mother and grandparents burst through the front door, startling him and forcing him to hide. Recently, Mu Rim, Da Rim's brother, had become suspicious about the wedding gift money. He happened to look at the gift ledger and wondered why there were names of deceased individuals listed. Furthermore, some guests appeared to have registered multiple times. No matter how he calculated, the total didn't add up to the expected 150 million won. Da Rim's mother confided her worries to her parents, fearing Mu Rim would investigate further. The three of them regretted digging up the 10 billion won, blaming the fire for destroying 3 billion won that was hidden in the air conditioner. Otherwise, they could have used the 800 million won and reburied the rest, avoiding their current anxiety. Hidden within earshot, Kang Ju listened in stunned silence, his eyes widening in disbelief. After returning home, he analyzed their conversation and concluded that the driver and his accomplice had taken his mother's money and buried it on the mountain. Da Rim's family had then dug it up and hidden it under their mattress, keeping it a secret from their children. Now, he just needed to confirm if the money under Da Rim's family's mattress was indeed in 50,000 won bills with the serial number prefix. Hiding near the barbecue restaurant, Kang Ju saw Da Rim's entire family at the laundromat, leaving Da Rim alone at home. He quickly followed her, asking her to make him some noodles. While she wasn't looking, he purposely spilled noodles on his pants and asked her to find him a pair of her grandfather's pants to change into. As Da-rim went to fetch the pants, Kang-ju quietly followed her into the grandfather's room. Just as he was about to lift the mattress, her grandparents unexpectedly returned. Finding him changing clothes in their house, they assumed he had ill intentions toward Da-rim and chased him away with a stick. Kang-ju continued to lie in wait. When Da-rim's family went out again, leaving only Da-rim's aunt at home, he pretended to be delivering kimchi from the barbecue restaurant. While her aunt was distracted, he slipped into the grandparents' room. This time, he successfully lifted the mattress, revealing stacks of neatly arranged 50,000 won bills with the A prefix. He quickly took pictures of the money and the room. Before leaving, he also pocketed the house key while her aunt wasn't looking. Kang-ju was conflicted. Da-rim's family had dug up the money for Da-rim's eye surgery. Furthermore, he was inadvertently responsible for the loss of 3 billion won. If his mother found out, she wouldn't let it go easily. Meanwhile, his mother had signed the divorce agreement with Chairman Jai and was planning to sell the house. Chairman Jai decided to buy the house himself, fearing that selling it to someone else would expose the secret safe hidden behind the wall. Rim, the detective investigating the theft at Kang-ju's house, returned for another inspection. This time, he noticed the empty wall behind the wardrobe. Kang-ju tried to persuade his mother to give up on recovering the money, arguing that even if they found it, they wouldn't be able to afford the hefty taxes. But his mother refused to accept the loss of 10 billion won without knowing where it went. While visiting his maternal grandfather's grave, Kang-ju learned that the surrounding land belonged to his mother. An idea struck him. If he reported the money to the police, his mother would be liable for tax evasion and have to pay 13 billion won. Furthermore, Da-rim's family would also be investigated. Since the money technically belonged to his mother, he wanted to help her retrieve it and bury it on her land. While Da-rim's family was visiting Rim, Kang-ju snuck into their house to retrieve the money from under the mattress. However, halfway there, Da-rim's mother realized she had forgotten the gifts for her in-laws and asked Da-rim, who had just left, to return home and get them. As Da-rim entered the house, she heard a strange noise coming from her grandparents' room. Suspecting a burglar, she quietly entered, wielding a frying pan, and swung hard. Upon realizing it was Kang-ju, she continued hitting him while demanding to know what he was doing in her house. Forced to confess, Kang-ju revealed the truth about her family taking the buried money, and that there was 6.2 billion won in 50,000 won bills with the A prefix under the mattress. To prove his point, he flipped the mattress over. Da-rim, seeing the stacks of 50,000 won bills with the A prefix, recalled her mother's actions. Suddenly, everything clicked: her mother's insistence on the surgery, her grandparents' reassurance about the 800 million won debt. Da-rim realized everything could be traced back to the money. She trusted her family's integrity, believing they only dug it up for her surgery. But seeing Kang-ju preparing to take the money, she begged him to give her some time. Her grandparents were old. The shock of discovering the missing money could be life-threatening. Da-rim promised to find a way to return the money and pleaded with Kang-ju for time. However, Kang-ju explained that his family was in turmoil over the missing money, and this was the perfect opportunity to retrieve it. Just as the two were struggling, Ti-woong called out, asking Da-rim if she had found the gift. To avoid being discovered, they quickly straightened the mattress before Ti-woong opened the door. Da-rim immediately hugged Kang-ju tightly, pretending they were having a heart-to-heart. Seeing this, Ti-woong flew into a rage, scolding Kang-ju and forbidding him from getting too close to Da-rim. To get rid of Ti-woong, Da-rim immediately put on a display of deep affection with Kang-ju. Once Ti-woong left, Da-rim shoved Kang-ju out of the house, pleading for more time. Besides the 3 billion won Kang-ju had burned, the remaining 6.2 billion, plus 800 million for the surgery, would be delivered directly to his mother. She told him he could hit her or punish her however he wanted afterward. From that day on, Da-rim lost her appetite. The guilt gnawed at her, thinking about her family bearing the burden of her mistake. Kang-ju worried that Da-rim would actually take the money to his mother to apologize. Knowing his mother's temper, he anticipated a storm. Unwilling to let Da-rim get hurt, he warned her not to act rashly. However, before he could even hang up the phone, Da-rim had already taken the money to Kang-ju's mother. She knelt before her to apologize. Kang Ju immediately cut her off, winked, and pulled her up. Kang Ju's mother, confused by their antics, asked Da Rim why she had brought a suitcase. Da Rim was about to explain that it contained money, but Kang Ju suddenly blurted out that they were dating and about to go on a trip together. Kang Ju's mother was skeptical and told Da Rim to explain why she had knelt. Fearing exposure, Kang Ju pushed Da Rim out the door. When his mother continued to question him, he shoved her aside, grabbed the suitcase in one hand and Da Rim in the other, and ran out. Once in the car, Kang Ju explained the real reason for his deception. If he gave the money directly to his mother, she would be liable for tax evasion. He had decided to bury the money next to his grandfather's grave and wait for the right opportunity to explain everything to her. Understanding the situation, Da Rim agreed to let Kang Ju handle it. But now, her family was still unaware of the missing money from under the mattress. She racked her brain, trying to figure out how to explain it when she got home. As they worried, Kang Ju received a call from their housekeeper, informing him that his mother had gone to the dry cleaners to confront Da Rim's mother. It turned out that the more Kang Ju's mother thought about it, the more suspicious she became. She was convinced that Da Rim's kneeling with a suitcase meant she was pregnant. Furious, she accused Da Rim's mother of raising a daughter who, despite working at a dry cleaner, dared to dream of marrying into the Kang family. Da Rim's mother already disliked Kang Ju for causing the 3 billion won to be burned. Hearing Kang Ju's mother insult her daughter, she flew into a rage, and the two women started fighting. Kang Ju and Da Rim rushed over to separate and calm them down. To appease his mother, Kang Ju promised to break up with Da Rim immediately. Afterward, he went back to Director Kim's loan shark company to borrow a shovel and quickly buried the money on the mountain. After finishing, Kang Ju told Director Kim that Da Rim's family wasn't responsible for the theft and asked him to stop the investigation. Director Kim agreed outwardly, but, wanting the 20 billion won finder's fee, continued to investigate secretly. Meanwhile, Da Rim faced her family. Before she could speak, her grandfather discovered the missing money under the mattress. Overwhelmed, he collapsed. Panicked, Da Rim called an ambulance. The doctor said it was uncertain whether he would wake up. Kang Ju worried that if Da Rim revealed the truth, her family would fall apart. He went to the dry cleaners to check on the situation, only to learn about her grandfather's collapse and their presence at the hospital. Kang Ju immediately rushed to the hospital. Seeing Da Rim's anguish, his heart ached. If her grandfather didn't wake up, she would never forgive herself. Seeing her despair, tears welled up in his eyes. After careful consideration, he retrieved the buried money and quietly placed it back under his grandparents' mattress. After receiving treatment, her grandfather finally woke up. The doctor instructed complete rest and no stimulation. He frantically recounted how the money had suddenly vanished. He told his wife and daughter-in-law, but they didn't believe him. Besides the three of them, no one knew about the money hidden under the mattress, so they suspected he was seeing things. He told them to go home and check, while his wife called Da Rim to look after him. Da Rim was anxious, worried her mother and grandmother would discover the missing money. When they got home, they lifted the mattress and found the money intact, confirming that he had been mistaken. To reassure him, Da Rim's mother took pictures of the cash. She even pocketed 2 stacks, unaware that her nephew had witnessed the whole scene. They returned to the hospital. To distract Da Rim, her grandmother found a way to get her out of the room. But Da Rim secretly peeked through the doorway and was shocked to see her mother show her grandfather the photos and then produce the 2 stacks of money. Realizing Kang Ju had returned the money, she immediately contacted him and learned he was on her balcony. Da Rim rushed home, checked her room, and indeed, the money was back under the mattress. On the balcony, she found Kang Ju covered in mud, exhausted to the point of collapse. Overcome with emotion, she hugged and kissed him, grateful for what he had done. She promised to repay his mother. Exhausted, Kang Ju just wanted to sleep. Da Rim arranged for him to rest in Ti Woong's room, even bringing her own blanket for him. He hadn't been asleep long when his phone rang. Surprised to see it was his stepfather, he assumed he was being forgiven and returned home. Instead, his stepfather announced he was replacing him at the company with Ti Woong, who would also be moving into the house. Kang Ju was told to pack his belongings and leave, free to pursue his passion for filmmaking. Kang Ju was devastated. He had given up his dreams to join the company, meeting his stepfather's expectations. Now, having found fulfillment in his work, he was being cast aside. He vowed to start from scratch and achieve success to earn his stepfather's recognition. With nowhere to go, Kang Ju took his belongings to Da Rim's. Since Ti Woong had moved out, he could stay in his old room. He decided to make it his startup base and invited Da Rim to join him. Seeing the determination in his eyes, she readily agreed. He felt grateful to have her by his side, and she hoped they could make a lot of money together. Kang Ju shared his startup plan, previously rejected by the company. He had the idea but lacked distribution channels, so he wanted to start by selling online. Da Rim was captivated by his confidence as he explained his plan. She couldn't help but playfully tug on his sleeve. Kang Ju noticed her shyness, delighted that she was finally seeing him as a man. After Kang Ju left, Ti Woong officially started working at the company. Chairman Jai was pleased to see his quiet, reserved son following in his footsteps. One day, Kang Ju ran into the father and son at the sauna. He still addressed Chairman Jai as father, his respect unchanged despite being dismissed. He expressed his hope to become his right-hand man, working alongside Ti Woong to grow the company. Kang Ju was a man of action. He registered his online store, planning to go to Dongdaemun with Da Rim that weekend to purchase inventory. Da Rim had an idea: sell the clothes left unclaimed for years at the dry cleaners online after ironing them, saving them money. Kang Ju firmly opposed the idea. If customers found out, it would damage not only their online store's reputation, but also the dry cleaners. He convinced her to leave the clothes where they were. Da Rim agreed, but when he wasn't looking, she secretly photographed the clothes and posted them for sale online. Cha Rim and Ti Woong quickly realized the clothes came from the dry cleaner. Seeing the online store's name, Gong Si Kang En Ham, they assumed Kang Ju had stolen clothes from the warehouse and was selling them online. To prevent the situation from escalating, Ti Woong bought all the clothes. Da Rim's family, upon learning this, dragged Kang Ju to the dry cleaner. They already resented him for burning through 3 billion won. This time, they certainly wouldn't forgive him. Kang Ju was ready to kneel and apologize, sacrificing himself to protect Da Rim. When Da Rim received the news, she rushed home. Seeing Kang Ju with swollen eyes and a haggard face, she was filled with guilt, blaming herself for involving him. Kang Ju wiped away her tears. He knew Da Rim was thinking of him, unable to utter any words of reproach. Touched by his concern, Da Rim could no longer contain her feelings. "You are my hope, I like you." Kang Ju finally heard Da Rim's confession. Excited, he pulled her in for a kiss. At that crucial moment, a phone call interrupted the charged atmosphere. Da Rim confessed to her mother that she was the one selling the customers' clothes. She hoped her mother wouldn't blame Kang Ju. Now that he had nowhere to go, this was the time he needed support the most. Despite this, the adults in the family still disliked Kang Ju. They reluctantly let him stay in Ti Woong's room. Learning the truth, Ti Woong and Cha Rim simultaneously confronted Da Rim. Selling customers' clothes was wrong. Moreover, she shouldn't be doing business with Kang Ju, an untrustworthy person. Unable to argue with them, Da Rim angrily called Kang Ju downstairs. To create their own atmosphere, oblivious to the others' stares, they acted intimately. Their affectionate behavior prompted Kang Ju, in protecting Da Rim, to lash out, accusing Ti Woong of pretending to be poor to live with Da Rim's family. He was dangerous, and Cha Rim had pushed out the previous design director. Furthermore, she was very cunning. The four of them relentlessly attacked each other's weaknesses. As a result, they all got drunk and had to help each other back to Da Rim's house. Da Rim and Ti Woong found separate places to sleep. Kang Ju wandered around, finally choosing to sleep closest to the grandparents' bed. Da Rim woke up and looked for Kang Ju, finding him sandwiched and squished between her grandparents. She found it both funny and heartwarming. She hoped her grandparents would soon understand Kang Ju's heart and truly accept him. They whispered, nearly waking the grandparents. Seeing this, Kang Ju quickly got up and ran off. He had an appointment with the tailor he had previously worked with. The tailor had a batch of clothes ready to sell to him at a low price. Hearing this, Da Rim asked to go along. On the way, she kissed Kang Ju again, sharing her true feelings. She loved working towards their dream together. Bringing the clothes home, Da Rim modeled while Kang Ju took photos. The products were quickly listed on their online store. Thanks to the stylish designs and reasonable prices, their first day was a success. Kang Ju's mother, learning that Ti-woong had moved in, immediately packed her bags and returned home, returning the money from the house sale to Chairman Jai, intending to reclaim the house and force Chairman Jai and Ti-woong to move out. Chairman Jai had endured his wife's erratic behavior for years. This was a rare occasion where he argued back. They yelled at each other, every vulgar and harsh word coming out. After arguing with Chairman Jai, Kang Ju's mother went upstairs to find Ti-woong, hoping he would move out on his own. Ti-woong didn't care where he lived, he just wanted to follow Chairman Jai. At the same time, he reminded Kang Ju's mother that Kang Ju was living in his attic room. The two had an exchange. Ti-woong went downstairs to comfort Chairman Jai. The previous argument had allowed him to see a range of emotions from Chairman Jai for the first time. No longer like an emotionless machine, he liked this version of Chairman Jai. He unconsciously called out, "Dad." Chairman Jai smiled. Unexpectedly, Kang Ju's mother's outburst had helped him and Ti-woong resolve their misunderstanding. For the first time, they talked so much. He suggested Kang Ju's mother stay, and the three of them live together. Kang Ju's mother left to find her son. Hearing adult voices, Da-rim hid under Kang Ju's bed. His mother entered, saw him living in the small, messy room, and asked him to come home and live with her. Kang Ju refused. His career was just starting. He couldn't give up now. His mother told him to be patient for a little longer. By January 1st of next year, it would be exactly 15 years. Even if the whole country knew she was evading taxes, they couldn't do anything. Then, she would report it to the police so they could recover the money. After Kang Ju's mother left, Da-rim overheard their conversation and panicked. They had to return the money before his mother called the police. Otherwise, Da-rim's family would face legal consequences. Kang Ju comforted her, holding her close. He would find more opportunities to sell clothes and work hard to earn enough to replace the money they had been forced to take. Da-rim resigned from her secretarial job to fully dedicate herself to their startup. Kang Ju wanted to recruit Cha-rim to their company as a designer. Cha-rim scoffed at the idea. Furthermore, she had to support Ti-woong in his company, so she immediately refused. Kang Ju contacted the designer Cha-rim had pushed out. Coincidentally, the designer was also looking for work and readily agreed to join their team. While Da-rim and the designer were working hard to make money, the grandparents removed the mattress to count their money. There used to be 6.2 billion won left, but now there was only 5.2 billion. It turned out their great-aunt's son had told his mother about the money hidden under the mattress. After her divorce, the great-aunt raised her son alone and endured many hardships. Seeing the money, she began to slowly take it. Greedy, she had already taken 1 billion won. If not stopped, she would surely become bolder. The adults in the family didn't want the children to know about this to prevent the matter from spreading and affecting the younger generation. Unexpectedly, the grandmother had recently undergone stomach cancer surgery. After the surgery, she experienced delirium. In front of the children, she revealed that there was a lot of money under the bed. Their great-aunt had taken 1 billion and given each grandchild 1 billion. The remaining money would be given to Da-rim's mother. Cha-rim listened to her grandmother speak very coherently. Her expression and tone didn't seem like she was joking, so she decided to investigate. She flipped her grandparents' mattress. Underneath was empty, nothing unusual. She thought she might be overthinking. However, she noticed that her mother, who never liked sleeping on mattresses, had bought a new one. Driven by curiosity, she cautiously flipped her mother's mattress. Immediately, neatly stacked bills appeared before her eyes. Cha-rim's eyes widened in astonishment. She stayed in the bedroom counting the money. Just as she finished, Kang Ju and Da-rim entered. It turned out their business was facing difficulties, and they wanted to take some money to overcome the hurdle. Here's what happened. The designer had designed a winter coat according to Kang Ju's request and started production. Unexpectedly, 2 days after contacting the manufacturer to inquire about the progress, they were informed that the design was not permitted for production. Kang Ju sought out the designer, who used to work at Chairman Jai's company, to return to work. He asked her why she had betrayed him. The designer explained clearly, after being fired, she thought she had nowhere else to go, so she came to work under Kang Ju. Not long after, her former company called and offered her her job back. Kang Ju's small company system was not yet complete and lacked development prospects. Of course, she chose the larger company. Finally, she even harshly forbade Kang Ju from producing the clothes she designed. Feeling guilty about her betrayal, the designer kindly told Kang Ju, "Not all women in this world are pragmatic like me. There are also women like Da Rim, who are selfless and devoted to others." It turned out the previous designer had asked Da Rim if she was infatuated with Kang Ju. Da Rim praised Kang Ju without reservation. Whether he was poor or unkempt, she liked him. Kang Ju was touched, but in a flash, worry etched itself onto his face. The designer had left. All their previous efforts were now meaningless. He didn't know how to break the bad news to Da Rim, fearing she would be disappointed in her expectations. While his mind was in turmoil, his mother called, ordering him to come home immediately. As soon as he stepped inside, his mother ordered him to move back in. He was forbidden from going near Da Rim again. Not long ago, his mother had visited Kang Ju's attic room and happened to see Da Rim helping him clean and do laundry. In his mother's eyes, Da Rim was not worthy of her son. Everything Da Rim did was to seduce Kang Ju, wanting to climb the social ladder. Knowing Da Rim had been wronged, Kang Ju immediately went to find her. At the convenience store, seeing her familiar figure, his mother's words helped him understand Da Rim's feelings for him. Da Rim was a little shy. She mustered the courage to confess that she had loved him for a long time. As soon as the words left her lips, she kissed him. How could Kang Ju resist? He cupped her face and deepened the kiss. After a kiss, Kang Ju and Da Rim were deeply worried about finding a designer. Any further delay and the factory wouldn't be able to fulfill their order. Kang Ju decided to grab some emergency funds from under the bed for a down payment. He and Da Rim hurried to the bedroom only to find Cha Rim counting a stack of cash. 5.2 billion won. Hearing the amount, both Kang Ju and Da Rim were stunned. The number clearly didn't add up. Cha Rim, realizing from their reaction that they knew about the money, was furious. Temporarily blinded by anger, she wanted to confront their mother. In this urgent situation, Kang Ju carried her downstairs and explained the whole story himself. Da Rim was filled with guilt. They had kept the secret from Cha Rim to avoid involving her and making her an accomplice. Who knew she would stumble upon the truth accidentally? Kang Ju added that their mother planned to go to the police station on January 1st to report the incident. They had to repay the money before then. Otherwise, their grandparents and Da Rim's mother would be considered thieves. Kang Ju proposed a solution. Since he and Da Rim needed a designer, they should invite Cha Rim to join their company. Cha Rim had just recently gained a foothold in her own company and was reluctant to abandon her career. However, to protect her family from legal trouble, she went to Ti Woong to borrow money to make up the missing amount. Ti Woong, already displeased with Cha Rim for being a gold digger, didn't ask for the reason she needed the loan. He simply berated her for being obsessed with money. Deeply hurt, Cha Rim immediately returned to her company and submitted her resignation. News of Cha Rim's resignation quickly reached Chairman Jai. Furious, he rushed to Kang Ju's company and immediately summoned him. Upon seeing Kang Ju, he lashed out, accusing him of poaching the talent he had painstakingly cultivated. Kang Ju, unable to explain the truth, could only stammer that he desperately needed the money. Chairman Jai, enraged, warned him against opposing him, promising there would be dire consequences. Meanwhile, Da Rim recalled what her sister had said while counting the money. They had 5.2 billion won, but the actual amount should have been 6.2 billion. Their grandparents and mother hadn't touched the money. So, the problem most likely lay with their aunt. The two sisters discussed the matter and decided to secretly observe their aunt's movements. Sure enough, when no one was home, their aunt took the bag where the money was kept. Seizing the opportunity, the sisters rushed out and caught her red-handed. Da Rim sternly told their aunt that the money had to be returned. Otherwise, their whole family would go to jail. She demanded the missing 1 billion won. Reluctantly, their aunt led them to the safe where the money was supposed to be. However, when they opened the safe, it was empty. The 1 billion won had vanished without a trace. The three wanted to check the mall's security footage. The manager, adhering to protocol, informed them that the police needed to be present to view the recordings. Their aunt thought of asking Mu Rim, a police officer, for help, but the sisters refused. With their brother being a law enforcement officer and their family involved in a potential crime, it was unacceptable. They absolutely couldn't drag him into this. The three sighed and returned home, sharing their troubles with Kang Ju. Initially, they only needed to find 4 billion won to cover the losses, but now they had to find another 1 billion. To make matters worse, Chairman Jai refused to accept Cha Rim's resignation. This meant they couldn't use her designs. Chairman Jai called Cha Rim in to ask why she was resigning. She explained her desire to protect her family and earn money with Kang Ju. Seeing her determination, Chairman Jai finally relented and allowed her to resign. January 1st was fast approaching. Desperate to buy some time, Kang Ju took a risky gamble. He snuck back into his family home and stole the will his grandfather had left for his mother. Without this crucial evidence, his mother wouldn't be able to go to the police immediately. However, his clandestine actions were witnessed by the housekeeper. Kang Ju pleaded with her not to tell his mother about his return. Unfortunately, the housekeeper betrayed him, hinting to his mother that Kang Ju had taken something. Kang Ju's mother rushed to check the will, discovering it was indeed missing. Furious, she stormed over to Kang Ju's place and demanded he return it. Kang Ju gritted his teeth, refusing to admit anything. Powerless, his mother could only leave in a fit of rage. Focused on making quick money, Kang Ju pushed aside his guilt. He immediately produced the down jackets designed by Cha Rim, launched sales, and sought investment. Cha Rim had some renown in the down jacket design world. The livestream sales were an instant hit. The products sold out immediately. After the first livestream, they easily earned 2 billion won. The three were moved to tears. Riding the wave of success, they immediately signed a second contract. While the trio worked tirelessly, their aunt visited their grandparents in the hospital. She felt guilty about losing the 1 billion won she had pilfered, but didn't dare tell them the truth. Seemingly anticipating this, the grandparents retrieved 1 billion won from a cabinet and told their daughter to take it and go far away with her son. The aunt suddenly realized that they had already taken the money she'd hidden. The grandparents, believing the cabinet wasn't safe, had brought the money back to the hospital, intending to give it to her at a later time. She considered confessing the truth about the missing money, but thinking of Da Rim and Cha Rim struggling to repay the debt, she swallowed her words, prioritizing her own interests. She happily took the money and left. However, guilt gnawed at her conscience, and she eventually returned the money to Kang Ju. Overjoyed, Kang Ju hugged Da Rim's aunt, repeatedly thanking her. This scene was witnessed by Manager Nam from the neighboring barbecue restaurant. Manager Nam and Da Rim's aunt had previously been romantically interested in each other. When Da Rim's aunt had planned to move abroad, he had been heartbroken, drowning his sorrows in alcohol. Now, seeing Kang Ju embrace her, he assumed she had found someone new. In a fit of jealousy, he rushed out and knocked over the box Kang Ju was holding, scattering the cash everywhere. Worried about causing a scene, Kang Ju dragged Manager Nam back to his place, along with Da Rim. They explained the whole story. Manager Nam was shocked to learn about the family's involvement in the theft. He immediately wanted to call the police. Panicked, Da Rim's aunt confessed her feelings for him, begging him not to report them. She promised they would repay the money soon. The next day, their grandmother was discharged from the hospital. Da Rim's mother prepared a celebratory meal. Cha Rim invited Ti Woong and announced that they were dating. It turned out that after Cha Rim's loan request was rejected and she left her company, Ti Woong had seen her determination. This was the Cha Rim he had been attracted to initially, so he pursued her. The two, who had once clashed, finally opened their hearts to each other. Seeing their affection, a competitive Da Rim called Kang Ju down. Da Rim's mother still disliked Kang Ju and treated him differently right in front of everyone. She showered Ti Woong with warmth and attention while constantly making snide remarks to Kang Ju. Unable to restrain herself, Da Rim declared, "Very soon, Mom, you'll see Kang Ju's worth." Not long after, Kang Ju's down jacket began its second live stream. The profits from the two broadcasts, combined with the 1 billion won she contributed, finally amounted to enough money. Kang Ju quickly retrieved the money from under Da Rim's mother's bed. Without hesitation, he sought out a professional money launderer and exchanged all the earned money for 50,001 bills bearing the serial number prefix. Everything was arranged. He brought 2 large bags of money home and told Da Rim to inform the adults. From now on, the 2 families wouldn't have to worry about this money anymore. At that very moment, Kang Ju's mother was discussing a plan with her lawyer. Although the will was lost, she had already made a deal with the driver, the one who had secretly taken the money from the warehouse. The plan was for the driver to testify that Kang Ju's grandfather had left her 10 billion won. In return, she would help the driver pay off his 100 million won gambling debt. It was just a minute before midnight January 1st. At that point, the statute of limitations on the tax evasion would expire, and she would immediately go to the police. Kang Ju planned to wait until his mother and the lawyer finished their discussion before giving her the money. However, an unexpected incident occurred. When his mother went to pay his grandmother's hospital bills, the money in her account was insufficient. She could only use the 50,001 bills he had just given her. Just then, Mu Rim's mother-in-law suddenly appeared, accusing her of being involved in the theft. Without any explanation, she was immediately taken to the police station. It turned out that recently, while investigating the theft at Kang Ju's house, the police chief had gathered some clues and identified Da Rim's mother as a suspect. They were just waiting for the right moment to catch her red-handed. Da Rim saw her mother being taken away and panicked, immediately calling Kang Ju. With things having come to this, Kang Ju could only temporarily change his strategy. He hurriedly put the 2 bags of money back in the car, repeatedly apologizing to his mother and blaming himself for not being a good son. Kang Ju's mother was bewildered, unsure of what was happening. But saving someone was more important. Kang Ju didn't have time to explain, and before leaving, he reminded his mother to make sure to report to the police. Da Rim's mother was taken to the police station. As soon as she arrived at the gate, a lawyer approached, greeted her, and accompanied her inside. The lawyer explained that he was authorized by Kang Ju to help her and relayed the message, "Don't say anything." Da Rim's family immediately fell into chaos. Ti Woong and Chairman Jai, upon receiving the news, immediately rushed to the police station. However, the police chief was personally interrogating Da Rim's mother and strictly forbade anyone from approaching. At this point, Kang Ju urgently sought out his grandparents, pulling them towards the mountain. He planned to bury the money again, believing that this was the only way to save Da Rim's mother. Knowing that their scheme had been exposed, his grandparents didn't say much and hurriedly followed Kang Ju into the mountains. Kang Ju worried he couldn't carry both bags of money, so he asked Director Nam for help. The 4 of them rushed to the spot where they had buried the money, frantically digging a hole to rebury it. They were racing against time. When the clock struck midnight, Kang Ju's mother arrived at the police station and reported the theft. Upon entering, she saw Chairman Jai and Da Rim's entire family there. But she didn't pay attention to them, instead honestly reporting to the police chief, "I'm not here for 1 million, but for 10 billion. The police chief, who had always disliked her tax evasion, immediately started arguing with her. The chief declared that he had found the hiding place, but upon checking, there was no money there. Kang Ju's mother refused to believe it, demanding that the chief dig again in her presence. The chief had no other choice but to lead her up the mountain. Chairman Jai, learning of the situation, called Kang Ju, explaining the gravity of the situation. "If this gets out, the whole country will know your mother is a tax evader." Kang Ju was still desperately digging in the mountains. He pleaded with Chairman Jai to stay by his mother's side and not let her face this alone. After thinking for a moment, Chairman Jai decided to get into the police car with Kang Ju's mother. The chief led his officers and Kang Ju's mother up the mountain to dig for the money. She knew full well there was no money there. He left his officers to deal with Kang Ju's mother while he returned to continue interrogating Da Rim's mother. Unexpectedly, the metal detector quickly beeped. The police dug up 2 large bundles from the detected spot. Inside were stacks of cash. Seeing all the cash, Kang Ju's mother burst into tears, exclaiming, "This is my money." Then she laughed joyfully, looking up at the sky. The chief was utterly astonished, reminding her not to celebrate too soon as there was no evidence proving the money belonged to her. Just as he finished speaking, an officer pulled out a will left by Kang Ju's grandfather from one of the bundles. Kang-ju's mother beamed, her eyes sparkling. With concrete evidence, the money could now be confirmed as hers. The chief returned to the police station with his officers and the money. They needed to complete the procedures before returning the money to Kang-ju's mother. Da-rim and those waiting at the station saw the police bring back the 2 large bags of money and immediately realized that Kang-ju had reburied the money to save her mother. Tears streamed down Da-rim's face, grateful that Kang-ju had protected her family. Finally, Da-rim's mother was released without charges. Upon hearing the news, everyone in the family learned about her taking the money. Feeling deeply ashamed, she left the police station through the back door. Kang-ju and Director Nam took his grandparents to pick up Da-rim's mother at the police station. Halfway there, they met her. She rushed into her mother's arms, sobbing. All 3 felt ashamed to face the family, especially Kang-ju, whom they had treated so poorly before. None of the adults had expected that the person who saved them from punishment was Kang-ju. Da-rim found Kang-ju, and 1,000 words couldn't express her feelings. Worried that Kang-ju would be scolded by his mother, she wanted to apologize to her directly. Kang-ju comforted his girlfriend, saying, "Don't worry about anything, let me handle it. I'll go home and apologize." With that said, the couple temporarily put aside their worries, embracing and kissing each other. The next morning, during breakfast, the adults in the family confessed their mistakes to the younger generation. Da-rim also apologized. Everything was because her illness had affected everyone. She also suggested that everyone take this opportunity to travel and relax. Da-rim's mother refused, determined to return to her normal work. Meanwhile, Kang-ju returned home to observe his mother's condition. His mother suspected that Kang-ju had taken the will and hidden the money. In her anger, she slapped her son, demanding he tell the truth. Kang-ju adamantly denied any involvement with Da-rim's family. He insisted he knew nothing. Unexpectedly, a gossipy reporter published a story about Kang-ju's mother's tax evasion, implicating Chairman Jai as well. When she went out, she was pelted with eggs. People came to their house, cursing and berating Kang-ju's mother for tax evasion. She hid inside, afraid to go out. Finally, when she ventured out, her car was surrounded as soon as it left the parking lot. Frightened, Kang-ju's mother quickly retreated. Over time, the incident escalated. Articles criticizing Kang-ju's mother flooded the internet. She became a victim of cyberbullying, constantly worried and anxious. Da-rim's mother went to deliver something to Kang-ju's mother. She rang the doorbell repeatedly, but there was no response, so she assumed no one was home and was about to leave. Just then, Kang-ju's mother quietly emerged, saying she didn't dare go out anymore. At that moment, several women appeared, furiously throwing tomatoes and eggs at Kang-ju's mother. Seeing this, Da-rim's mother quickly shielded her. Kang-ju's mother, noticing the mess on Da-rim's mother's head, felt guilty for involving her. Kang-ju's mother was deeply ashamed, knowing in her heart that her family was also responsible for this happening. The person who deserved punishment was the one who stole the money, not her. Kang-ju's mother brought Da-rim's mother home to clean her clothes. Then she asked about the day she went to the police station to report the theft and why Da-rim's children were all there. Da-rim's mother didn't dare tell the truth, lying that there had been a customer complaint at the laundromat, which escalated to the point of involving the police. Kang-ju's mother believed her. As they were talking, Chairman Jai and Ti-woong returned. Da-rim's mother, having no further excuse to stay, quickly said goodbye and left. Kang-ju's mother questioned Chairman Jai about why he was at the police station the day Da-rim's family was there. Chairman Jai hastily explained that there had been an incident of theft at the laundromat, and he happened to be with Ti-woong to check it out. Kang-ju's mother was suspicious, as this explanation differed completely from what Da-rim's mother had said. Ti-woong scrambled to make excuses so that Kang-ju's mother would drop the subject. On the other hand, to fully win over Da-rim's family, Kang-ju began helping out at their dry cleaners. He not only learned how to wash and deliver clothes, but he also made a dermatology appointment for Da-rim's mother, persuading her to use laser treatment to remove a red spot on her face. Seeing Da-rim's grandfather about to take a bath, he proactively accompanied him and scrubbed his back, endearing himself to the old man. Da-rim's grandparents were very pleased with him, but they still harbored worries. Kang-ju came from the family that lost the money, and Da-rim's family was the one that found it. If Kang Ju's mother ever found out that they had taken the money, she would surely treat Da Rim poorly. After much deliberation, the elders advised Da Rim to break up with Kang Ju. Da Rim and Kang Ju were truly in love. She was determined that no matter what anyone said, she would marry no one but Kang Ju in this lifetime. On his usual days off, Kang Ju would visit his mother. He stayed for dinner. At the dinner table, his mother and Chairman Jai argued. Both considered themselves the head of the household and demanded the other move out. After the meal, Ti Wung and Kang Ju had a discussion. They wanted to acquire Kang Ju's small company and work together to grow it in the future. Kang Ju honestly revealed that they had returned all the money they earned to his mother. Now, they were in debt. If the chairman's company wanted to take over, they would also have to assume the debt. Chairman Jai readily agreed. Ti Wung also thanked Kang Ju for everything he had done for the family. Da Rim apologized for her previous prejudice against his actions. After leaving, Kang Ju's mother returned to Da Rim's neighborhood. Coincidentally, she went to the housekeeper's restaurant for a meal. The housekeeper's restaurant was near the dry cleaners. Kang Ju's mother happened to see her son and Da Rim's mother together. They were not only laughing and talking cheerfully, but Kang Ju was also attentively peeling an orange for Da Rim's mother. This scene shocked Kang Ju's mother, as her son had never treated her with such care. The housekeeper told her that Kang Ju had practically become the dry cleaner's son. Washing, delivering, caring for the elderly, he did everything himself. Kang Ju's mother suddenly remembered the housekeeper returning money to her earlier. There was a stack of bills that began with the letter A. At the time, the housekeeper had said it was money from a customer. She inquired again about the source of the money. This time, the housekeeper confessed the truth. The money was actually given to her by Da Rim's mother. Kang Ju's mother was instantly taken aback. A bold suspicion formed in her mind. To confirm her suspicion, she consulted a lawyer. When was Da Rim's mother released from the police station? The lawyer revealed it was right after the police returned from digging up the money on the mountain. Moreover, Kang Ju had spent a large sum of money to hire a lawyer for Da Rim's mother. Kang Ju's mother connected the dots. She deduced that Da Rim's mother had taken her money and been caught by the police. Kang Ju had gone to great lengths to save Da Rim's mother, and then reburied the recovered money. To uncover the truth, Kang Ju's mother took advantage of her son's sleep to sneak into his house and check his phone. The chat history between Kang Ju and Da Rim clearly documented the truth. Trying to control her emotions, she took pictures of the chat logs and immediately went to the police station to file a report. Half asleep, Kang Ju sensed someone had been there. Opening his eyes, he saw his phone screen illuminated. The interface paused on his chat history with Da Rim. He instantly realized the impending danger. He chased after her, but couldn't stop his mother. Following her to the police station's entrance, he pleaded with her not to report them. However, his mother was deeply hurt. She refused to listen to another word. As they struggled, the chairman appeared. Kang Ju's mother wanted to give the evidence to the chairman. Kang Ju humbly begged his mother. He promised to break up with Da Rim and stay away from the dry cleaners, just asking her not to go to the police. Kang Ju's mother returned home, woke up the sleeping Chairman Jai, and berated everyone. She was furious that everyone knew the truth, but hid it from her to protect the family of the despicable thieves. This had exposed her to public ridicule and online bullying, and she couldn't swallow her anger. She declared she would report Da Rim's mother to the police the next morning. Chairman Jai reasoned that, as things stood, the money would soon be recovered. Even if they reinvestigated Da Rim's mother, the money wouldn't necessarily return to Kang Ju's mother. More importantly, 4 billion won of that money was added later by Kang Ju. If the investigation revealed that portion belonged to Kang Ju, the situation would become more complicated. She might even be forced to pay a gift tax on the 4 billion. Hearing this, Kang Ju's mother temporarily held back, but she was unwilling to let the thief get away. She decided to wait until Kang Ju and Da Rim broke up before reporting to the police. Outside, Ti Wung overheard their conversation. He knelt before Kang Ju's mother, begging her to spare Da Rim's family. He was willing to pay any price, but the enraged Kang Ju's mother immediately refused. The next day, Kang Ju's mother went to the dry cleaners. Her son, returning home, saw Da Rim's mother and gritted his teeth in anger. Only Kang Ju's intervention prevented his mother from losing control. As for Kang Ju, after much deliberation, he resolutely asked Da Rim for a breakup. Da Rim dismissed it, thinking he was playing hard to get. His first attempt unsuccessful, Kang Ju drank for courage and tried again. It should have been a painful separation, but under the spell of Da Rim's kisses, Kang Ju surrendered. He couldn't bring himself to say the words. Kang Ju's mother knew that getting her son to break up wasn't easy. She sighed. The housekeeper chatted with her to try and lift her spirits. Unexpectedly, Kang Ju's mother brought up Da Rim's mother's lost money. She spilled everything, including how her son had buried the money, effectively setting her up. The housekeeper was stunned that her neighbors were the thieves. Returning home, she secretly revealed this to her son-in-law, Director Nam. To her surprise, Director Nam remained calm, showing no emotion. He told her not to reveal anything, as he and Kang Ju had buried the money together. The housekeeper exploded in anger. She immediately confronted and berated Da Rim's mother. Stealing the money was bad enough, but now she had dragged Director Nam into it. Kang Ju's mother knew the truth and was forcing Kang Ju and Da Rim to break up. It was all Da Rim's mother's fault. Da Rim's mother, realizing everything was exposed, knelt before Kang Ju's mother to beg forgiveness. Da Rim, hearing this from Director Nam, rushed to find her mother. She knelt beside her, pleading as well. Da Rim explained that if it hadn't been for her eye treatment, her mother would never have stolen the money. Kang Ju's mother could punish her however she wanted, but she begged her to spare her mother. Kang Ju's mother demanded that Da Rim break up with her son and that their family move away. She didn't want to see them again. Kang Ju returned to see Da Rim kneeling on the ground, sobbing. His eyes reddened, but speaking up for Da Rim now would only further agitate his mother. After Da Rim and her mother returned home, she told her family about the situation. Da Rim began packing, resolving to sever ties with Kang Ju. Kang Ju met Da Rim one last time. They reminisced about their sweet memories, tears streaming down their faces. They couldn't bear to part, but to protect their families, it was the only way. The next day, Da Rim's mother listed the dry cleaners and their house online and began searching for a new place to live. Da Rim's grandparents lay in bed, regretting their mistakes. It was their initial idea to take the money that had turned Da Rim's mother into a criminal and caused Kang Ju and Da Rim to break up. To protect their family, they decided to write a confession letter to Kang Ju's mother. They admitted that they were the true culprits. They hoped their deaths would atone for their wrongdoing. Chairman Jai, finding the letter in the mailbox, had a bad feeling. He quickly took the letter and went to find Da Rim's mother. Worried something had happened to her parents, Da Rim's mother panicked. Prompted by Chairman Jai, she called Mu Rim, who was now a police officer. Fortunately, the driver taking Da Rim's grandparents had sensed their suicidal intentions, refused to drive them further, and stopped the car on a bridge. He ultimately brought them home safely. Seeing her parents were alive, Da Rim's mother cried and held their hands. She only wished for them to live well, for their family to stay together. Meanwhile, the director remained suspicious of Da Rim's mother. Under her investigation, she finally uncovered a clue. Previously, Mu Rim had been suspicious about the congratulatory money incident. After being questioned, his mother confessed to the entire process of sneaking the money from the car. Mu Rim, abusing his authority, then deleted the incriminating footage. Unbeknownst to anyone in the car, the meticulous director ordered the dashcam footage restored. Mu Rim overheard Da Rim's mother recounting the incident of pocketing the money for him. The director immediately took police and went to arrest Da Rim's family. Her daughter urged her to reconsider for the sake of her and Mu Rim's reputation, advising against such impulsive action. The director rebuked her daughter, reminding her not to forget her duty as a police officer. Furthermore, she had never liked Mu Rim as a prospective son-in-law. The director arrived at Da Rim's house, accusing her parents and mother of theft, and handcuffed them. Mu Rim was arrested for dereliction of duty. Da Rim, Cha Rim, their aunt, and even Kang Ju were also taken into custody for aiding and abetting. News of the Laundry family's arrest caused a commotion in the neighborhood, with everyone coming out to watch. At this moment, Kang Ju rushed forward to stop the director. He argued that if his mother hadn't reported the incident to the police, it meant she had forgiven Da Rim's family. She had no grounds for arrest. He, as the son of the victim, had personally reburied the money. He could prove his mother was no longer pursuing the matter. The director, after hearing his argument, promptly charged him with obstruction of justice and took him to the police station along with the others. Da Rim's family and Kang Ju were all detained. Kang Ju requested leniency, citing his status as the victim's son. The director immediately refused. She stated that leniency was solely at the discretion of the owner of the stolen money. Just then, Kang Ju's mother received the news and rushed to the station. The investigation had been concluded and the money was to be returned to her shortly. But now, with Da Rim's family under investigation, the return of her funds was delayed. She became furious, harboring resentment towards Da Rim's family and her own son for attempting to help them. Kang Ju's mother vehemently refused any reconciliation and demanded a harsher sentence. She wanted them to pay for their actions. Following the victim's wishes, the director investigated everyone involved in the case. The verdict was swift. Mu Rim, for dereliction of duty, was dismissed from the police force. Da Rim's parents and mother, while guilty of theft, hadn't spent a penny of the stolen money. Considering their clean records and the full return of the stolen funds, they were each sentenced to 1 year in prison. Da Rim, Cha Rim, their aunt, and Kang Ju were found innocent and immediately released. At the courthouse, Mu Rim's wife expressed her disapproval of her mother's actions. The director reminded her daughter not to forget her duty as a police officer. Coincidentally, she and Mu Rim hadn't officially registered their marriage. The director demanded they end their relationship completely. Jisoo refused, stating that even if Mu Rim was no longer a police officer, she wouldn't leave him. After the three elders were incarcerated, Kang Ju unilaterally declared the annulment of his agreement with his mother. He was determined not to break up with Da Rim. Da Rim worried that continuing their relationship would sever the ties between Kang Ju and his mother. Wishing the best for her boyfriend, she heartbreakingly chose to break up with him. Kang Ju understood that Da Rim didn't mean what she said. To make her reconsider, he visited the furniture store where Da Rim worked, posing as a customer, just to spend some time near her. Back home, he tried various ways to appease his mother. He attempted to talk to her about his feelings, but she initially ignored him. He persisted, asking for her advice until she relented. Although she still verbally disapproved of his relationship with Da Rim, the tension between mother and son gradually eased. The theft case was closed. The director informed Kang Ju's mother to collect the money at the police station. Kang Ju accompanied his mother, assuring her he'd safely escort her and the money to the bank. He placed 2 large bags of cash in the car, and his mother sat in the back, excitedly clutching the money. The 10 billion won she had been waiting for was finally back in her hands. This was her happiest moment. However, neither of them realized that Director Kim and her subordinates were monitoring their every move. Kang Ju's mother had initially promised Director Kim a 2 billion won cut if she helped recover the money. Director Kim hadn't received her share, and a conflict had erupted between them. In retaliation, Kang Ju's mother had reported Director Kim to the bank where she worked. Director Kim had been moonlighting at a loan shark company, leading to her dismissal from the bank. Harboring a deep grudge, Director Kim had been tracking Kang Ju's mother, vowing to steal the money. Director Kim forced Kang Ju's car to stop, demanding they hand over the cash. Kang Ju's mother panicked, unsure what to do. Kang Ju calmly instructed her. As soon as he got out of the car, she should immediately climb into the driver's seat and speed to the bank. The moment Kang Ju exited the vehicle, he was attacked. He struggled to hold back his assailants, yelling at his mother to drive away quickly. Kang Ju's mother followed his instructions, flooring the gas pedal towards the bank. Kang Ju, meanwhile, snatched Director Kim's car keys to prevent them from pursuing, buying time for his mother. Fueled by rage, Director Kim swung a baseball bat, striking Kang Ju hard on the head. He began bleeding profusely, his life in danger. After driving a short distance, Kang Ju's mother realized something was wrong. She couldn't prioritize the money over her son's safety. She quickly turned the car around to return to the scene. But upon arrival, she found Kang Ju, Director Kim, and the others gone. Just then, Kang Ju's mother received a call from the police. They informed her that Kang Ju had been taken to the hospital, his condition critical. She rushed to the hospital. The police explained that they had received a report from a passerby and arrived at the scene after the perpetrators had fled. They mentioned that even while being attacked, Kang Ju had clung tightly to the attacker's car keys. Kang Ju's mother was devastated. Kang Ju had been injured protecting her. She blamed herself for her son's predicament. The doctor announced that Kang Ju's surgery was successful. Unfortunately, he had suffered a severe head injury, and it was uncertain if or when he would regain consciousness. The entire family anxiously awaited news. Chairman Jai, upon learning that Director Kim and her accomplices had been arrested, stormed into the police station, assaulting Director Kim and demanding to know why she had hurt his son. Director Kim, driven by greed, hadn't intended to harm Kang Ju. She claimed that Kang Ju's mother, obsessed with the money, had disregarded her son's safety. Hearing this, Chairman Jai returned to the hospital, declaring that Kang Ju's mother didn't deserve to be called a mother. Overwhelmed with remorse, Kang Ju's mother frantically pulled the money from her bag. This money, she realized, had caused Kang Ju's injuries. If anything happened to him, she would never forgive herself. Not long after, Da Rim heard the news about Kang Ju's accident. She rushed to the hospital, worried sick. However, Kang Ju's mother still held a prejudice against her. She believed Da Rim brought bad luck to her son. Every time he saw her, something unfortunate happened. Therefore, she refused to let Da Rim see Kang Ju. The three adults in Da Rim's family, upon learning about Kang Ju's collision, prayed earnestly for him. It all stemmed from them. If Kang Ju didn't wake up, they would live with regret for the rest of their lives. Several days later, Kang Ju's bodily functions returned to normal. He was transferred to a regular hospital room. The doctor told Kang Ju's mother that whether he would wake up depended entirely on his will to live. His mother remembered his previous wish to be with Da Rim, so she pleaded with Da Rim to talk to Kang Ju. He was very fond of her, so he would surely want to wake up. Da Rim finally got to see Kang Ju. She cried, begging him to open his eyes and look at her. However, everything was in vain. Kang Ju showed no signs of regaining consciousness. From that day on, Da Rim visited Kang Ju at the hospital every day. Her persistence eventually moved Kang Ju's mother. Gradually, she accepted Da Rim. They ate together and waited together, hoping for Kang Ju to wake up. Seeing that Kang Ju still showed no signs of waking, his mother thought Da Rim wasn't doing enough. She hoped Da Rim would not only talk to him, but also do something more to stimulate him, like kissing him. Da Rim complied, but Kang Ju still didn't open his eyes. At her wit's end, Kang Ju's mother stood by his bedside and promised that if he woke up, she would donate all her money to help children like Da Rim who suffered from eye diseases. Before she could finish her sentence, Kang Ju's finger twitched. Finally, he opened his eyes to the sound of their voices. Kang Ju's mother and Da Rim wept with joy. Seeing Kang Ju gazing intently at Da Rim, his mother understood and left them alone. "I love you, Da Rim. I love you too." The couple, who had endured so many hardships, finally cleared all obstacles and were no longer apart. Elsewhere, the director visited Da Rim's mother. He hoped she understood her responsibility, as the law had no room for personal feelings. Da Rim's mother thanked the director for arresting her, allowing her to live honestly, no longer burdened by guilt. In the blink of an eye, a year passed. Da Rim's grandparents and mother were released. Their family waited at the prison gates, offering them pieces of tofu. After the hardships, they finally reached smooth sailing. As for Kang Ju, he was dissatisfied that his mother hadn't kept her promise. She had said she would donate all her money, but she only donated 800 million won. He demanded she fulfill her promise. Kang Ju's mother paid no mind to his demands. Donating all her money pained her. She believed a symbolic donation was enough. The little girl who received the surgery sent a thank you video to Kang Ju's mother. She said that thanks to her, she could see the light again and would never forget her kindness. After watching the video, Kang Ju's mother suddenly found her self-worth. She decided to support another person with an eye disease. Da Rim's family's laundromat reopened. Su Jai visited the laundromat every day to see Mu Rim, proving with her actions that she would never leave him. Mu Rim, sensing Su Jai's love for him, embraced her tightly, vowing that even if he wasn't a police officer, he would use his own hands to give her a happy life. Cha Rim and Ti Woong were about to get married. Chairman Jai brought Ti Woong and Kang Ju to Da Rim's house for a meeting. The two sons had become his right and left hands. He put an arm around each of them, deciding to entrust the company to them while he enjoyed a good retirement. Da Rim's house was filled with laughter and joy. Everyone was full of hope for the future. Kangju believed that it wouldn't be long before they would also celebrate his and Da Rim's wedding.